Hello, welcome to the Captain at Center Ice podcast. I almost said stream. We're not streaming at the current moment, but hopefully we can get this into a stream here soon. So, welcome. I haven't done this in a while. Part of the reason is because from about August all the way through December, I was at college with these two fine young gentlemen. And we had a separate podcast that we did up at college through an organization called Cardinal Sports Live, which these two young gentlemen are currently a part of. I am no longer currently a part of it because I graduated, but they are currently a part of it. You should check out Cardinal Sports Live. They are a great organization, and their podcasts are fun to watch. They cover everything from hockey to baseball. They cover the Premier League, basketball, even the NFL. So, yeah, I hope you guys check them out. They are a very good and interesting organization to follow, and they have some really good thoughts and opinions. So definitely go check out Cardinal Sports Live, their YouTube channel. You can see all their streams there. Each podcast has their own SoundCloud, which is I believe will be posted at the end of their podcast, so you could always find that there. But that being said, I'm gonna introduce these fine young gentlemen to you. So I have on the right side I have Jared Von Hotter. Go ahead and say hi.
How's it going, guys?
Good.
Happy to be here.
Yeah. Jared is a current hockey player for the club team up at the college that I went to, and yeah, he's I got to know him through the podcast, so that's kind of cool. And then on my left I have Ryan Coast. Why don't you go ahead and say hi, Ryan?
Hello, everyone. Happy New Year to you as well.
Yeah, Happy New Year. Yeah. I guess it is only January 13th. I always forget that it's January 13th. So yeah, man, this weather. I don't usually like to talk about the weather, but it's freezing where we're at.
It's brutal.
It's brutal.
It's brutal.
And it is interesting here. But yeah. Yeah, so let's just jump right into it. We're gonna talk about a lot of different things today. There's actually been a lot going on in the NHL right now. Towards the beginning of December, there really wasn't a whole lot to talk about. Quite honestly,
Yeah.
it was kind of hard to come up with podcast topics around that time.
Well, that's why we had to resort to talking about our playoff predictions. I mean,
Oh yeah, and we can talk about that here too. We're gonna jump into a lot of different things here. A lot of variety for this show. So we're gonna start out talking about Anthony Duclair. So I'll bring up an article for you guys here in a little bit, but first I kind of want to get a thought or opinion on this trade from Jared and from Ryan. I'm going to explain what happened first though. So Chicago traded away Richard Panik. Who they trade away? Richard Panik and
Laurent Dolphin.
Yeah. And they got Anthony Duclair and
Adam Clendening.
Clendening. That's right. Adam Clendening. So the biggest name in this list is Anthony Duclair, quite honestly. So Anthony Duclair is quite honestly the biggest name in this list for a good reason. He's probably the youngest and most interesting out of the list. Clendening is pretty good too, but Duclair is quite honestly one of the important players for Arizona, or was one of the important players for Arizona. Started out with the Rangers, I actually got traded to Arizona, and then now is with the Chicago Blackhawks. What do you guys think about this trade as a whole? Let's start with you, Ryan. What do you think about this trade as a whole?
I think it's good, but I didn't understand why they acquired a winger or a forward in that case, because they need a defenseman. Like, I was talking to Tommy, another fellow of the podcast, and he was saying that we need a defenseman, and I kind of have to agree. So I understand, like, he's a talented player and everything, and you want to build talent, but I thought you need a defenseman more than anything.
Up on the roof.
Yeah, that's an interesting point because they really do need defense. That's their biggest flaw from a standpoint of like just as a team. You know, Brent Seabrook got put off on a 1 game, you know, little probation, I guess, if you want to call it that, from the team.
Yeah.
He got taken out. He was a healthy scratch.
Yeah.
Which, quite honestly, I'm going to be quite blunt. Brent Seabrook has not been playing like Brent Seabrook this season. And
No.
I know a lot. There'll be Hawks fans who probably are like, well, he hasn't been playing that bad and whatnot. No, he hasn't been playing like Brent Seabrook. He's not playing like himself. So
He's not playing like a top 2 defenseman at all.
No,
No.
he's really not. And quite honestly, yeah, he needs to step up his game. Granted, I think his age is getting to him. There's
the
only
way
so
that
much he can do.
The way that I explain it is, I don't know how old he is. Well, he's in his 30s for sure. But if you think about it, between him and Duncan Keith alone, they both played on the Canadian Olympic team. They've played on multiple Stanley Cup contending and winning teams. So their bodies have to be like probably like 37, 38 years old at this point,
Yeah.
realistically.
Yeah. So Adam Clendenning, I guess they did get a defensive player out of Adam Clendenning. I just looked that up. I forgot what position he was. So they did get a defenseman. He's 25 years old. So age is not a big deal, I don't think, actually.
Yeah, but he's not
now
going to
the question,
the top 2 defensemen.
Yeah.
At the
but the question
Blackhawks,
is he going to actually play?
Yeah.
I'm sure he will.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
he'll be a healthy scratch most likely.
Yeah, and
Well, here's the thing. He also started his career in Chicago.
that's interesting. I did not know that.
He started in Chicago, got traded to Vancouver. Don't know when, maybe 2014, 2015. And then I don't know where he went from there, but obviously he
Let's
was
look
in
at his
Arizona.
stats. Chicago, Vancouver. The next year he's with Pittsburgh. 2015-2016 season he was with
Pittsburgh,
Pittsburgh. 2015.
Did he win the cup with the Pittsburgh?
No, because he ended with I think he ended with Edmonton.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then 2016-2017, he was with the Rangers, and then last year he was with Arizona.
He's been a suitcase, that's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, he's a right-handed defensive shot. He's an average defensive player. I mean, here's the issue with Adam Clendenning. He's probably a bottom 2 defensive player in terms of in the Chicago lineup. Maybe on an Arizona team he's a little bit different, but on a team as stacked as Chicago. Yeah. But yeah, he on a team like Chicago, he's a bottom 2 defensive player.
Well, okay. To be honest with you, if he can prove himself, I think that he can step into more of a role of being like a middle of the line defenseman for Chicago, because if you look at really, I mean, like, I think we're giving Chicago more credit than they really deserve with their defensive core, to be honest.
I guess that's
if you're saying he's a bottom 2 defenseman, I think their defense is weak at best. I mean, there's nothing.
Definitely. Look at the standings. I mean, it's shown that it's weak.
I guess
you're
that's
not going to win. You're not going to win games with a bad defensive core. That's hard to do.
Yeah, I guess that's a fair statement. I think maybe a lot of their defense came from a full team defense, whereas
Yeah,
some teams have their defensive players play the defensive roles, whereas their forwards play the offensive roles, and kind of focus on that.
I,
I don't know. I think this year their defense has just been playing really bad.
I
It's
just
just
feel
been
like
playing
there's.
poorly.
I mean, there's been a lot of rumor with Quenville leaving and all this speculation. I feel like there's a lot. A lot has to do with him and the way that he coaches.
Yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting topic to talk about actually with Quenneville, because I think he's one of the best coaches in the league.
Oh, most definitely, yeah.
So if for whatever reason he got fired from Chicago, which I could see them doing if they don't do well this playoffs, or if they don't
Right.
get to the playoffs, I could see them firing him. Obviously, teams would be like, "We want you."
Yeah.
I think this is a team that would look at picking him up, Anaheim, because
See, it's funny that you bring that up because I was thinking of Anaheim in specific because of when Bruce Boudreau was there and how no one wanted to play for him because they were at some point they're just like, you know, we're
yeah,
done, like we don't want to play. And I feel like I could have seen that with the Hawks, but I feel like they have too much talent for that.
yeah, and quite honestly, like, I think their issue is not they don't want to play. Their issue is their current lineup relies so heavily on Kane and Taves to do all the work.
Yeah.
It's a superstar problem, is what it is.
And I mean, I feel like obviously a big issue as well is Crawford's been injured twice this season already. You know, Jeff Glass has come in and he's played pretty good, to be honest. I'm not even gonna lie about that. A lot better than probably most people expected. But I feel like the injuries definitely can hurt them as well. I mean, you lose Anisimov, who's a second line center. That's a huge point.
Yeah. Yeah, injury is also a big issue. I think players like Ryan Hartman, Alex DeBrincat, you know, some of those young guys that are on their lineup really struggle. And part of that is age. They're kind of just struggling because Alex DeBrincat is new. Like, there's not really anything else to really say about that. The only thing
I think they just recently brought up Hinostroza as well.
Yeah, that's a fair point. They did bring up Hinostroza. Age is their biggest issue. Because they have people who are really old and then they have people who are really young.
Yeah.
That there's not really a whole lot in their gap of it's not an even age process.
They're definitely in the win now category, I would say.
Yeah.
For the Hawks.
It seems like they're starting to realize what they need to do in order to win. But I mean, the way that I see it is I feel like there's more of a young core right now with them. They have a lot of farm system players, I guess you could say, that are in their early 20s. So it's a lot to get used to.
Who's that one guy from UND that they have that is pretty good, that forward?
Schmaltz,
yeah. He's been lighting it up a little bit.
Yeah, he's been pretty good.
Having a good year.
Yeah. I honestly, I think the reason for their current success, because they've had, I don't know, they've had
they beat
games.
Winnipeg last night, which was pretty impressive.
Yeah,
so.
that I looked at the highlights of that. It looked like Winnipeg controlled that game. They just couldn't convert.
Yeah, definitely. I think Glass stood on his head.
Yeah, I think that was a goaltending thing, not a team thing. Like, okay, I'll give a little bit of credit to the defense for being able to, like, you know, whatever.
Right, you can't, yeah.
But I mean, you even heard the Chicago commentators at the end of that going, yeah, Winnipeg had a lot of quality scoring chances here. and you gotta give Winnipeg some credit there. Patrick Laine had an absolute laser of a shot on glass last night. That was like if you. And I'm pretty sure he just wristed it, which was like, are you kidding me? That was like a slap shot compared to some of the other people.
In general is just insane.
Oh yeah, it's ridiculous.
For a kid at his age as well.
Yeah, he's insane. Winnipeg, between, let's see, Matthews and Laine. I think Matthews is the better player all around. But Laine got better. Yeah, and Winnipeg needed offense. That was their thing. They needed a lot of things at the time, but they definitely needed offense. And they got it. They got what they asked for. So,
if you're comparing Matthews, yes, he was.
Yeah, he was second overall, or he was a first round second draft pick. Like he was a second pick of the first overall round. Toronto got Austin Matthews.
See, I like to look at it as like I thought you brought up a good point with Matthews being the all around player, and then like if you're looking at Laine, you just see him as like just a natural goal scorer.
Yeah, he's less all around in the defensive end. I mean, he can play defense, obviously, but I think that
he's just not like built the same way that Matthews is with hockey knowledge, at least.
Yeah, well, and
not that takes anything away from him at all.
I think Laine is
Matthews is a good two-way player, unlike Laine is more one-way.
Yeah, I think Laine, when you watch Laine play, he has a shoot first mentality, whereas Matthews has a pass first mentality. Obviously,
like Ovechkin.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting actually. That brings up an interesting point because Matthews is a lefty, and Laine is a righty, and I've started to notice this watching throughout the league. The players who are usually righty, I say usually because there's some players who are not this way, but usually who are right-handed are shoot first mentality.
I was just thinking that when you started to bring it up, and because I'm relating this to Ovechkin.
Yeah, you have Ovechkin. I mean, even if you watch like some of the newer players, you got DeBrincat on the Hawks. You have Barzal.
Schmaltz is a as well.
You have Schmaltz. You have Barzal on the Islanders.
Yep.
Is it Bodeker who on the Vancouver Canucks? Who's the
Brock
Besser.
I don't know how
Brock Besser. Yeah.
He's another UND guy too.
Yeah, he also is a shoot.
Incredible shot.
Yeah, and I mean, to be fair, these people have incredible. They know how to shoot the puck, but it's an interesting level of. In terms of looking at their mentality, it's interesting to see where their mindset is. Even if you look at like players like Phil Kessel or Ovechkin, like you said, those players are shoot first mentalities as well. Kessel's
that's the cool thing is that this is if you look at it more as like a lefty righty spectrum, I see it more of as if like coaches know what role these players need to be in, and they've set up those systems specifically in order to have guys like Kessel and Ovechkin and Laine come into the zone and just shoot.
Yeah, I mean, if
we all know they're good at that.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at players like some of the best players in the league who are right-handed, right? Steven Stamkos. You have Nathan McKinnon. I would throw in that list. You have players like Ryan Getzlaf. Even like a Drew Doughty. You throw players like that into the list, and you get an interesting look at all their mindsets are very similar, and how they play is very similar. Getzloff might be a little bit more passive than some of the other players, but I think that's just because he's so
Yeah.
big. But still,
Yeah.
like, he's got it when he shoots the puck. He's insane. But
Right.
I think an interesting look. The best time to look at a right-handed player is on defense, because you get, like, if you compare Duncan Keith to Drew Doughty, you get two completely different mindsets in how they play defense and how they play their position. Drew Doughty is an offensive defensive player who can absolutely rifle the puck. And
Right.
you have a Duncan Keith who can play defense. And
Duncan
focuses
Keith-
on that.
Duncan Keith and Drew Doughty actually, like, I feel like they have a lot of similarities in their style, just because of their offensive capability as well.
That's
Mhm.
I guess
And they're really good on the power play too.
yeah. I'm
Very
not
good on the
not
power play.
when I say that Drew Doughty is a offensive, like, he's the best between the two offensively. That's not knocking Duncan Keith. I don't
No,
want to
no.
knock Duncan Keith offensively. It's just, if I had to pick one of the two, like, if you're on the power play, who are you gonna pick, Drew Doughty or Duncan Keith? I'm probably gonna go with Drew Doughty because he's a
Yeah,
right-handed
true.
defenseman.
Honestly, though, like, I don't know. It depends on what kind of system you're running. If you're running an umbrella and you only have one defenseman at the top, I'd probably put Doughty. But then if you're running an overload where you basically pretty much have both defensemen, then I'd put Keith because he can move the puck better with a defenseman.
Yeah, that is a good point. Keith does move the puck better. He's better on that.
Doughty's definitely got the better shot to the net.
True. But yeah. Anyway, so let's get back to what we were talking about. It was Duclair. We really went off topic there. Which is fine. But I wanna get back to Duclair here. So, Duclair is an interesting setup or trade. It's an interesting trade for Chicago and all of them. So, I'm gonna remove us here from the screen for those of you watching. Don't worry, we're still here. So I'm gonna remove us here, and I'm gonna show this article here. So, Chicago Blackhawks Anthony Duclair, as you can see on the screen here. This is Anthony Duclair, obviously in an Arizona jersey. So, Chicago Blackhawks forward Anthony Duclair already welcoming an opportunity he'll get with his new team. The locker room setup, which places his stall next to Captain Jonathan Toews, was a bonus. All right, cool. I'll give him that. Like, to be next to one of the greatest players in the world. That's actually kind of cool. By the way, for those of you watching, you can, this article's on NHL.com. You'll be able to find this on NHL.com. So anyway, he's that's pretty cool. Duclair said on Friday. I wasn't expecting that. It's going to be fun to get used to. This I can get more into that later. Duclair acquired by the Blackhawks in a trade with the Arizona Coyotes on Wednesday, will be in the lineup against the Winnipeg Jets at the United Center on Friday. So we already watched him play. Speaking of that game, how do you guys think that he played in that? Was he worth the pickup for Chicago based on that game?
I mean, the way that okay, so he's been proven to be a 20-goal scorer before. You've seen that in Phoenix and I'm saying Phoenix or Arizona now, but New York as well. But I don't know. It's too early to tell. Richard Panik, I mean, I feel like he kind of helped Toews out a little bit when he did play on the line with him. So I don't know why this trade exactly was made. So, well, I mean, I don't know if it's too effective of a trade. I feel like you're just kind of swapping players.
Yeah,
I think it's a wait and see. I think you have to wait and see for him to develop and get that team chemistry going with all their linesmen. I think that's the most important thing to watch, and it's kind of hard to evaluate after his first game to see how the trade worked out, because you never know how a trade's going to work out until you get a year into it.
That's a
And
fair
also,
point.
his contract is actually up after this year. So
Yeah, Chicago likes to do that. I think that's an interesting
yeah.
strategy that they do.
Well, it saves them money in the long run because if they don't
Right.
need to sign him, then he's just gone.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think it's a smart play by Chicago. I'm not just crediting that. I just think it's interesting that they do it. Some of the other
Right,
teams
right.
don't do that. So the 22-year-old left wing will be on the third line with center David Kampfand and right wing Alex DeBrincat. For Duclair, who had 15 points, 9 goals, 6 assists in 33 games with the Coyotes, it's not great. But I will say this: he's on the Coyotes.
Yeah.
Which doesn't help. So it kind of bounces out. The
He's
trade,
definitely had better seasons though.
yeah,
With the Coyotes as well.
yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. I just felt like I needed a change of scenery, he said. I want to get back to that statement here in a minute. It was a tough situation for myself and a couple of other guys. At the same time, for myself going into the future, I don't think it was a good fit for me. Now I'm here and I'm embracing the opportunity. So I kind
That's
of want
all crap.
yeah,
Like, come on. That I mean, he hated just being on a bad team.
yeah,
Like,
I agree. However, I'm gonna say this. All right, I watched him play in New York.
Yes.
He had the exact same thing when he left. There have been rumors that I have seen, and I have not verified these rumors, but from what I've seen, it would not surprise me. Where the rumor basically is that he just ends up he just stops playing after a certain amount of time. Like he stops trying on the ice. And because of that, the coaches are trying to get him to do his job and whatnot, and then he's like, "No, I just want to trade." Because that's what happened. Apparently, that's what happened in New York. Supposedly. Because I remember them trading him, and I was like, "Why would you trade him? He's one of the better young players on your team. Anthony Duclair is one of your best players on your current lineup. He can score the puck, or shoot the puck, and put some pucks in the net, and he knows what he's doing offensively. Why would you trade him away?" So I wonder if he asked for a trade in New York. I can understand. I kind of understand asking to get a trade away from Arizona. That's I understand that. That's not a issue for me, and I can understand like being like I don't really want to play here. But the question comes up. He didn't want to play in New York, which is an original 6 city, right? An original 6 team. Why is he gonna want to play for Chicago?
They were still a playoff team too when he was there. So
yeah, they had good Stanley Cup contention back then.
Yeah,
we're only talking a couple years ago.
I mean, to answer that question, I feel like it really comes from the coaches, and it's really. I mean, he's a young kid. He's a young kid, so if Quenneville can mold him and kind of change him to maybe give him a little attitude adjustment, I don't know. Maybe he can turn out to be a much more standard player.
Yeah, maybe. I kind of can see Quenneville just being like, "You're not going to listen to me. I'm benching you."
Yeah, I feel like that's the kind of coach he definitely is.
I don't see a reason why he wouldn't. I could see him totally doing that.
But he loves his star players, so I don't know. Maybe that could coming from Arizona on a team that he was kind of seen more as a star. It might be a little bit even more of an adjustment for him, knowing that now he's playing with literally two of the best players in the world that are getting all the attention.
Yeah, this will be interesting because I think this will make or break Anthony Duclair. I think if Anthony Duclair cannot make it on the Chicago Blackhawks, it'll break him.
Well, especially him being a free agent this upcoming summer, I feel like that's a huge thing for him just to prove his point that even if Chicago doesn't keep them, maybe five teams are going to offer him a contract or something like that, you know?
Yeah, true. And I could see him playing on a. Honestly, he fits really well into like an LA setup. Like if you look at him,
I could see him going to like Dallas. I feel like Dallas could be.
I could see him working. I can see him working out there.
But then again, I just don't feel like. Okay, I'm going back to like the restructure and the remolding process because at this point in his career, I don't feel like he should be playing with players that have this sort of name already built for themselves. Because now, if he goes to Dallas, you have Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin.
Yeah.
So I think he needs to just realize his role and just play.
Yeah, there's a little bit of cockiness in this statement. I just needed a change of scenery.
Right.
Like there's a little bit of cockiness in that. There's also a little bit of a all right, do you just need a change of scenery every 2 years cuz that's
right.
I'm going to waste money if it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Definitely.
Ryan, what do you think of this?
I mean, the move I get moving from Arizona. Anyone would want to get out of that place. But from what we've heard, from what you've told us, that he's been moving quite frequently, and to be on a playoff contingent team, I don't get what he wants out of hockey. Like, what does he want out of this game? Because look at, like, if you're on a playoff contingent team, that's where you want to be every year. Because the NHL playoffs are like the March Madness. It's really hard to predict, and so he could have had a chance to win the Stanley Cup with the Rangers. So I just don't understand what he wants out of the game, if that makes any sense.
No, I honestly think you're bringing up a good point, Ryan. Just because, like, we obviously know he's not a first line guy, so that just goes back to my point in saying that he needs to realize who, like, the kind of player he is and what role he's in. Because if you're playing on a Stanley Cup contending team, you learn your role, you win games, you win rings. It's pretty simple.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a very valid point. Now, I will say this: there could have been a combination with the Rangers, like it could have been a combination of salary cap and him just like wasn't fully trying, and he kind of got a little bit of a raw end of the deal too, which is most likely what actually happened. Because remember, I said that it is a rumor that he just like stopped trying.
Right.
Which what he might have done is like, oh, I'm in a good spot and stop trying a little bit because of that. Like, oh, I'm in a good spot. I have a lock on this team or whatever. Which he needs to understand that's never the case on an NHL team. That's never the case.
Oh, no, not at all.
That's never the case in any sport. Your spot is never guaranteed.
It's a business.
Yeah, and maybe he didn't realize that. So, and maybe he realizes that now that he's with Chicago. Maybe he does because, and maybe he just wanted out of Arizona.
Yeah, I don't think Arizona is. I mean, okay, I feel like if you're coming fresh out of the draft and you get drafted at Arizona, of course you're gonna play. But at this point, I don't think it's a place for too much development, and there's just a lot of restructuring that needs to be done with that program for sure.
It's just a bunch of.
Go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
Do you think there's going to be a market for him after the season? Because his contract's up, as you said, Jared. I don't know if there's going to be a market for him.
he's not one of those players that is really going to get shafted. And he's not like a two-way contract sort of player. So there's definitely teams that will go for him.
I think there's definitely teams that'll go for him. The question is, will he want to go to those teams?
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. I don't see Chicago keeping him. Even if they did win the cup, I don't see them keeping him.
No, he's a rental player for them.
Yeah. There's no way.
Most definitely.
And so I could see him going to a team like, I don't know. I could see him going to like a Colorado Avalanche. I could see him going to like a Vancouver.
Because we need another forward.
Yeah, he could make a good fit there. I could see him going to like a Vancouver. Maybe even like a Winnipeg if they end up needing a winger.
Right.
I don't know. There's a couple places that I think could pick him up. I think another good place that he could fit in would be LA. LA, and then like you said, Dallas. He fits in really well with the big size. And who knows? Who knows? Maybe New York will want to pick him back up again. I don't know.
That could be a good possibility too.
So I could see him going to the Islanders maybe. I don't know. There's a couple places that could pick him up. Montreal could probably use him.
That's a good point too.
Maybe even like a Boston, a team like Boston. I don't know. There's a couple places that could use a player like him because he's not as much of an. I think a lot of people look at him as a offensive producing forward, and I kind of look at him as more as like a two-way forward. He just kind of he's there, and he happens to score goals. That's just kind of how I look at him. He's got some size to him.
I mean, he has a good amount of skill too. I've seen many highlight goals from him. So
yeah, he's got skill. I'm not discrediting that. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens with him. So Blackhawk coach Quenneville said he's looking forward to see what Duclair can do. He said, great opportunity for him. He's excited to be here, and he has a chance to be in a bracketed Stanley Cup playoff race. We'll see how he looks in a couple of situations. But we told him, just play your strengths. We look forward to his speed, and he has some good skill as well. I think Coach Quenneville is being modest in this situation.
He's being blunt. That's for sure, yeah.
Yeah, he's being blunt, but he's being blunt but modest, if that makes sense. There's also some downsides. He already knows there's some downsides with this comment. There's no way he's like an amazing player. Otherwise, you would know it through his comment.
Right.
The Blackhawks are 6th in the Central with 48 points. Well, now they're currently in a wild card spot.
They're currently 5th, I believe, in the wild or their standings.
Yeah, they're currently in the last.
But the Avs have like 3 games to play to catch up with them, so they could be in last place like they were before the bye that Avs had.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because when they hit their bye,
very tight.
Yeah, when they hit
their
bye,
like 10 points separating the teams, I think.
12 from top to bottom.
Yeah, and we're gonna look at that a little bit later, but yeah, it's kind of interesting to look at that. They're 7 points behind the third place St. Louis Blues. Well, that's not the case anymore. They're closer, and 2 behind the Minnesota Wild for the second wild card spot from the Western Conference. Well, they already locked that in. Chicago is trying to climb the standings while trying to get younger. That's an accurate description. Forwards Vinny Hinostroza, Ryan Hartman, and DeBrincat, and defenseman Jordan Osterley have become big contributors, and Duclair could be a big part of that. We have 13 players who are 25 and under, that's actually really impressive for a stacked Chicago team. What they had. General manager Stan Bowman said on Wednesday, I looked just last year at this time. I think we had 4. Yeah, he's not wrong. So in a matter of a year, we've been able to get a considerably younger, but we're still a team that wants to win. We're not playing for the future, but the game today is predicted on being able to skate. A lot of guys we've brought in recently bring that element to their game, and I think it really meshes well with the style Joel Quenville wants to play. So,
See, I think that's it about them getting younger is because that they lost were Roosevelt and Hosa, and those guys have been in the league for God knows how long now. So that helps to bring youth now that you don't. I mean, they're still paying salary, of course, but
yeah.
the younger guys don't need as much money, anyways.
Yeah, well, it's a salary cap thing. You're not wrong, because they keep running into that. So the last
They've had
statement.
that.
Yeah, they definitely have had that. You're not wrong. The last statement here, and then we'll get off the article. And this by Duclair. I think it's going to be huge for me, especially just the way the Blackhawks play and watching them play over the years. He said they play with a lot of speed and skill, and I think that fits to my strengths. We'll see. Obviously, we had a tough situation in Arizona for a couple years.
Obviously,
yeah. The way with that statement, he's acting like, oh, it's okay. We had a tough situation in Arizona. No, you're obviously pissed about it, so don't act like you're okay with it. These games are going to be meaningful games, and I'm just ready to be in a playoff atmosphere. Are you though? Every game counts. It's going to be fun to play in. All right. Yeah. So, there's one comment. This guy is a first round bust. Salary cap move, more to come. That's what this guy said in the comments of the thing. Yeah. All right. Well, you heard it here, folks. No, I'm just kidding. All right. Yeah. So let's get rid of this article here. All right. So, all right. Let's move on. Well, actually, we'll continue to talk about Duclair for a second here. So, based on those comments, what did you guys notice anything? Was there anything that stuck out to you, either from Chicago or from Duclair, or is there anything that you wanted to bring up?
I think what stood out to me was like the whole change of scenery lie crap. It's just like filler. Like, come on. Like, if you're gonna release a statement, at least be blunt about it. Yeah, we sucked. I wanted to leave.
Yeah. What about you, Jared?
I think it's just more interesting to hear the comments from Bowman and Quenville and how they think, because ultimately they're the guys that make the decisions and they know what they need for the team. So I think it's interesting to hear what they say, because obviously moving Panik, I feel like he was one of their maybe like top 7 players for forwards at least. So
that was interesting that they got rid of him. I thought he was a very good player for them.
He was a very good role player. He knew where to be.
Loyal too. Like, loyal to the organization.
Yeah.
I think he was only there for like 2 years. So.
I think he's been there for like 3 or 4, but yeah, he hasn't been there forever.
Well, because he was with Toronto after getting traded from Tampa or something like that.
Oh, really?
But yeah,
I mean, he's been a decent player for the Chicago Blackhawks. I think his issue was just his position was stacked. That was his issue. His position they were loaded on in Chicago. That was their biggest issue. I don't know.
Yeah, he's been there. He's been there for 3 years, including this year.
Yeah,
I thought he was there longer.
Yeah, I knew he was only there for like 3 or 4 at most.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, last year he put up 44 points, so 22 goals. That's pretty substantial if you're a 20 goal scorer.
Yeah, see, it's not like Panik was a bad player by any stretch of the imagination. So I'm really confused as to why they got rid of him.
Right, and I mean, ultimately, like we said, we'll see if it pays off, and if it doesn't, like we also said, Duclair's gone after this year if they don't really need him.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to touch on what Ryan said, which is the fact that I needed to change the scenery. You hear that with every player. That's a comment that's heard by every player. Oh, I'm so glad to get a change of scenery. I heard that with Eric
Right.
Stahl when he left the Carolina Hurricanes to go to the New York Rangers. He played like absolute crap with the Rangers. I'm gonna be quiet. He played like crap. Yeah, and now he's playing with Minnesota, and of course the commentators are like, "Oh, he's playing so much better." And I watch him play, and I'm just like, "Really?" I don't know. I don't know. It's interesting to watch that happen.
Oh, they're behind me.
So
Realistically,
anyway,
any player is gonna say that though. No matter what, they're gonna be nice about it. They're not gonna.
They're gonna
Because
follow
you're
the
not
leader.
gonna burn a bridge. Because think about it.
Yeah, they're not. They're not gonna burn a bridge.
It kind of looked like I mean this. I know this is NHL, but NBA. Look at Isaiah Thomas. He kind of burnt that bridge when he said this is a trade that you make when on the video game ESPN NBA or 2K17.
Yeah.
I think.
I feel like that was more of like they just kind of did him dirty, and like I heard the whole story about it and how like he was kind of left out to dry, and they just like basically just called them up one day and said, "Well, you're going to Cleveland," so
yeah.
I
don't know.
There's a difference. I feel like there's definitely a difference.
Yeah, it was a different story and everything about that, but you don't kind of see that in comments.
In that case, yeah, I could understand why someone would say that, but if we're gonna really relate it to basketball, Derrick Rose did the same thing, and he knew he was getting traded. He just shit talked the Bulls, but I wouldn't see that from hockey players.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens here. I think. Yeah, we'll just keep an eye out. I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, definitely. That's all we can do.
Yeah, pretty much. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about Yager. So the Calgary Flames hired. They signed Jaromir Jagr to a 1-year contract at the beginning of the season. They officially decided to part ways here. I think it was a week ago. They decided to part ways with Jaromir Jagr. So now Jaromir Jagr is pretty much a free agent right now.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about Calgary. Let's talk about Calgary and why they decided to part ways with Jaromir Jagr, and then we'll talk about Jagr and his future. So, what do you guys think? What do you think prompted Calgary getting rid of Jagr?
Honestly, I think it was a smart move because, I mean, he was injured for part of the season. First of all, second of all, I think that Calgary's starting to move in the right direction. I mean, they made the playoffs last year. Definitely in contention to do the same this year. I think they're third in the Pacific Division. Also, they're on a 6-game winning streak, so I think that's a huge thing, and they definitely have a young team. I don't think Jagr really fits that system well, but I really want to bring this up to you guys first of all, and say that Jagr's 45 years old. Definitely should not have been in that system. He should have been retired already. Don't get me wrong. He's played a great career.
Yeah.
I just want to bring up the whole list of teams that he has played for. This is not in order either. These are just in general. He's played for the Penguins, played for Florida Panthers, the Boston Bruins, Washington Capitals, New York Rangers, Philadelphia Flyers, Dallas Stars, New Jersey Devils, and now Calgary. So that's 9 teams throughout his whole career.
That's impressive.
He's been everywhere.
Yeah, he's been all over the league.
It's just a good time for both of them, from Calgary's standpoint and from Jagr's standpoint, to just kind of call it quits.
Well, I think like he's kind of doing like the Brett Favre move, like just trying to. He won't leave. Everyone knows it's time, but he's still waiting for that last dance. I think.
Yeah.
So that's my opinion on it. Great career though.
Yeah. No.
without a
Yeah.
doubt.
Yeah. Definitely a great career from Jaromir Jagr. Part of me wants to see him at least finish the season with one more team.
I would say the same, but who? That's my question.
Here's where I see him fitting. This won't happen.
Please don't say Detroit.
No. He fits in with bigger, slower teams. He doesn't fit in with a young, speedy team like Calgary.
It's hard to even say that there's many of those left.
Yeah. The game isn't like it was when he first started and first got into the league, and it's changed to that speedy where we want speed all the time, no matter where you are on the ice.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely. I think this is. There's a part of me that says I want to see him with another team, but realistically, it probably won't happen. So I understand that. The only teams
I could see him in the front office doing well. I really could see him doing well in the front office. If someone gave him a chance, I think he could do well there.
I don't know if he'll want to do that. I think
he's Once he's done, he's done. I think
at least with the NHL, he's done. I don't think his career is over because here's what I think. I think he could play in some of the European leagues.
Would he want to do that though?
The teams over there have shown some interest. There have been teams leagues over there.
I could see him definitely finishing this year and doing that, going overseas.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be like with the KHL or anything. It could be like the German league or something like that.
Right.
I'm not gonna say he doesn't have the skill for it, because he definitely does. I don't know. If he were to finish with, let's just toy with the idea. If he were to finish with a team here in the NHL, what teams do you think could do it? I don't think there's a whole lot of them that would want him.
Well, definitely. I don't know.
Because I'm just looking at the stats here.
I'm just trying to look and see if there's any teams that. Honestly,
I honestly can't think of one.
I thought Florida was a good fit for him.
Yeah, they really were. They really wanted him too.
That's the only team I can see, to be honest with you.
I would like to see a reminiscence of him with the Flyers, but because that's where I remember him with. But that would just be for my own memories. No other thing than that.
Maybe a San Jose.
I could definitely see that, but now if you think about it, they still they basically have the same player in Thornton, who's younger and produces more at this point. So
true, but you could put Jagr on like a third or a fourth line.
Yeah,
I don't know. The question with age is, I think, the biggest issue, and that's a valid concern. I think he fits best in the big teams. So like Anaheim, San Jose, Dallas. See, I'm just going through all the big teams.
Could he compete with Dallas's speed though? That's my thing.
If you put him on a third or a fourth line and have him on like a grind line, I think you could.
Yeah.
Not if you're playing him with like Sagan or Ben.
No,
absolutely not. The thing is, though, I go back to the off season and think about it, because no one wanted to sign him in the off season, first of all, and True. Calgary finally came around and pulled the trigger. So now at this point in the season, where you kind of have things developed, you already brought up your minor league players who could be developing into NHL players. Does anyone really want him?
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, you could put him on like a Vegas team. I mean, here's the thing. This is
Still,
what Yager does offer. All right, Yager offers experience, not just playoff experience, but he offers experience from being around the league. So you can use him as a leader for younger players if you have any. Which means he's a good fit with. I think, quite honestly, he's one of the reasons that you see Johnny Gaudreau to where he is now. If Yager wasn't on that team, Johnny Gaudreau would probably not be playing as well as he is right now.
It seems like he's definitely matured a lot this season.
Yeah, and I think part of that is just because Jaromir Yager has been around him.
And I think they were playing together for a little bit, if I'm not mistaken.
They were. And granted, I don't think Jaromir Yager was playing all that great with them because they were too fast for him.
And he was also injured, too.
That true. That too. There's a level of like, there's only a few teams that he could fit. Florida, like you said, I could see him fitting in Florida. Maybe a Carolina. No, they're too fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, you get in.
It's just like at this point, it's just way too young of a league for anything to kind of sprout. You know.
Yeah, honestly, if you're going to do it, you have to be on a team that's going to be big, heavy, and kind of slow. Maybe a Nashville or a, I don't know. They're too stacked. But
even if you look at it from his point of view, if he's going to be going to any sort of those standard of a team, he's not going to be in the playoffs. Does he really want to do that?
I don't know. And the real question is, do those teams even want him in the first place? They may not. They may not want him. I mean, all right, because there are two teams that he was looking at before he signed with Calgary: St. Louis and LA.
St. Louis would make sense because of the speed that they have with Tarasenko and everything.
Well, and St. Louis didn't want him.
St. Louis is a big lumbering team, though,
and they're stacked. Right now, they're stacked. They don't have any room for him. You look at LA. Does LA really need Jaromir Yager? No. Like,
that just goes back to the young talent.
The sad truth is, I don't think the NHL needs Yager anymore.
I think the NHL has changed to the point that Yager doesn't fit into it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yager came into the league when size, like speed was important, but not as important as it is now. Like he came into the league when it was size and hand, like hand skill, like stick handling.
Even now it's still like size is a big factor when it comes to drafting, but you need speed as well. Like these kids that are coming out of the draft are big and strong and fast.
Yeah, like Nathan McKinnon. Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and also, who's the kid that's coming out of Sweden, the defenseman?
Oh,
I forget. He was playing in the World Juniors, but he's supposed to be one of the top draft picks.
Yeah. There's a lot of... You're not wrong. There's a lot of size that comes out... size and speed that comes out of the league. The different... Yager's just too old. I think his age is the big thing that's gotten to him. His age is finally caught up to him. His 45 years old. It's finally like you can't keep up with these people.
You can't play in the NHL that long nowadays. It's just way too grueling on the body.
Yeah. Well, I give him a lot of credit for being able to play in the NHL till 45. Not many players have been able to do that. I mean, you look at like Patrick Kane's not going to be able to do that. There's no way. There is no way.
Crosby.
I don't think he would want to.
Yeah, I could see Kane wanting to do that. I think there's a level of...
I don't know if I were put in that position, I wouldn't want to. I would probably say that late 30s would be the most that you could do.
I think
it's way too tormenting.
I think hockey was all of Yager's life was basically only hockey.
Yeah.
Like if you look at some of the current
He's been
players
in the league since 1992 or whatever.
Yeah. Well, and quite honestly, he hasn't had like a girlfriend or anything really until like recently. So like Yeah, I remember watching an interview with him in Florida when he was with the Panthers, and he said hockey is my life. If I put time into anything else, I don't get to play as much hockey. Which he's not wrong when he says that. But
Yeah.
like he's like that's why I'm single. Like I don't have time. But at the same time I'm like, you're a 45-year-old man. Like, all right. I'll give him props.
Well, there's no denying that he's. I mean, you don't have to be married in order to, get a woman and stuff like that. So there's no denying that.
Yeah, well, he's also Jaromir Jagr.
I
Might help it.
I saw a picture of him. I guess that he like slept with some Czech Republic hockey player's girlfriend who was like 18 years old, and this is Jaromir Jagr in his
Yeah.
40s.
Yeah. Yeah.
On
He's a
that
freak of
note,
nature.
Yeah. Apparently, Burke of the Calgary Flames says they would do the Jagr experiment again if they had the chance. I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means at all. Okay, so I'm gonna look at his stats here with. Oh no, he didn't. Oh, that's his last 5 games. Okay, I'm looking at the stats here, and it's like Chicago. I'm like, he didn't play for Chicago, and I realized it's just the last
7
game.
points this year.
Yeah, so he's played in 22. Holy crap, 22 games. Yeah, 22 games. He had 1 goal, right? Yeah, 1 goal, 6 assists. So he had 7 points overall.
Yeah, definitely not the Jagr that we all know.
Yeah, yeah, I don't see I don't see the Jaromir Jagr that we remember. To put this into perspective, in his first season with the Pittsburgh Penguins, he played 80 games. He had 27 goals, 30 assists, 57 points. Not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Different league back then. That was 1990, 1991. Right.
You're talking what, 28 years now?
Yeah.
Jeez, man.
So let's look at this is through the Sun Sentinel. I'm not gonna show
Wait,
this.
he had a 149 point season one year.
With who?
With Pittsburgh.
Oh. That must have been because he won multiple cups with them.
Yeah, this was in 95, 96. I don't know if they won that year. Pretty sure I know 90, 94 or 92 they won.
Yeah. The team and Jagr are reporting on an exit plan for the Czech superstar. The Calgary Sun reported that Jagr wasn't even on the Flames' current four-game road trip. In Florida, Jagr served as a mentor to Barkov and Huberdeau. The trio formed the Panthers' top line the past 2 seasons. This season, both are having both Barkov and Huberdeau are playing outstanding.
Yeah.
I'll give him this. He works way off the ice all the time. He's an outstanding.
Well, to play at 45, you have to have an incredible off season.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Do we trust ESPN? ESPN has an article. What's next for Jagr? Let's see what they have to say.
For hockey, don't know.
What's next for Jagr?
I swear, ESPN treats hockey as the redheaded stepchild on their programming. It's awful.
It's not basketball, football, or baseball, so they don't care.
Well, they don't have the licensing for it.
Yeah, it's true. Well, and they're hemorrhaging money. They're hemorrhaging money. That's a different story altogether. This person says it's the end, sadly but seriously. He turns 46 February 15th. Dang. We've gone from wondering about whether Yager could potentially catch Gordie Howe for second all time in goals to watching Yager score just 1 in 22 games this season. I'm gonna give that partially to he played on Calgary.
Yeah.
There's a level of, at least on Florida, there was a level of there's no superstars on this team.
Right.
In Calgary, there's superstars.
Yeah, Calgary definitely has some.
Yeah, they rely on like Goodrow and
Monahan.
Trocheck. Or not Trocheck. I'm sorry. Tkachuk.
Yeah, Trocheck was.
Yeah, I'm thinking Florida.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, this person says potentially Pittsburgh. No. No. If you say, listen, no. There's just no. It's not a. I don't see a good reason for him to go to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's not
Absolutely
the same
not. Only for, yeah. I don't see anything either.
This person said there's no real match, and that's basically it. If anywhere, it'd be Florida. That's really the only place. I think that's the best case scenario is going back to Florida. And Florida, yeah. I think Florida would still want him. I don't see a reason Florida wouldn't want him with their positioning.
Yeah.
I really don't see a reason why they wouldn't want him. And I mean, they're close enough to a playoff spot. I don't know. That's just me.
Do you see him trying to get another job after the season's over?
I see him going to another league. That's what I see him.
If anything.
I don't think he would be happy in an office. He would not be happy in an office doing paperwork.
That's not.
He would.
You don't see him as like a GM maybe or president of hockey operations?
No, he would hate it.
No. Yeah. He'd much rather be on the ice, even if he was 60 and in a wheelchair.
He would. He has the knowledge for it. You're not wrong, Ryan, on that. I just think his personality, it would piss him off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a personality issue, not a knowledge thing.
You cannot deny his knowledge for the game.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There's a reason people want
That's what I'm mainly going off of, saying that he might thrive in a front office position.
I mean, maybe an assistant coaching position, maybe at the very most. If he were to be in an office,
I'd say that's still even a stretch.
I really, really, really don't see him anywhere else. I mean, if Florida brought him on as an assistant coach, I could see that. I don't know. My problem is I don't think he really has he doesn't have any loyalty to any place here in the U.S. And it's just a level of I don't know. There's no loyalty here in the U.S., which is fine. I don't blame him for that. He's from the Czech Republic. I don't blame him for that. Maybe there could be this. Maybe it's okay for him because now he can go and try and play on the Czech Republic team for the Olympics.
That's an interesting point, but is he healthy enough to do that?
I think he could.
I don't know where he stands at this point.
I mean, a month from now, I think he just had a lower body injury, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
I don't know how long it would have taken him, but that was December. It was like the middle of December when that happened. He hasn't played since then. I don't know, because there have been players who are like, "Oh, I'm no longer in the league. I'm going to go play for my Olympic team."
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It would be interesting to see what happens. And it wouldn't surprise me if he's on the Czech Republic team.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting.
I don't know. I remember seeing that his agent was saying, "Hey, we're still open to teams picking us up or whatever." and they're still promoting, like trying to get out there and whatnot. So I think,
obviously,
yeah, if a team does pick him up, I think he's just done by the end of the year, at the end of the season. That's where I end up. But he has to end up on the right team. I think Florida's the right team for him. Anyway, let's move on. We've talked about Jágr for long enough. We've talked about Jágr for about how old he is. We talked for 45 years on Jaromir Jágr. Let's talk about a major surprise. A different type of surprise. Too. Yeah, we're gonna talk about Vegas. Vegas. Oh man, I don't even know where to go with Vegas.
I think what's telling about Vegas happened.
Yeah,
you cut out.
I think he's got some connection issues going on right now.
Let's give him a sec.
I think he's losing connection because I can't even click on his right now.
Yeah, he's frozen on my screen.
Yeah. Do you want me just to give my opinion?
Yeah, let's continue to talk about Vegas and let him.
Okay. Okay. And like we said, it's definitely a pleasant surprise. No one expected this. I'd still go back to I think it was probably our first podcast when we were saying, yeah, they're going to be a bottom of the pit team, and it's going to take a couple of years. But no, we did not imagine this in any universe that this would happen, that they'd be at the top of the West with 60 points. But to be honest with you, they're just a workhorse team. They want to win. There's nothing more to it. Like, they're not like a Tampa Bay where they just have all the skill and they have every piece put in place. But the pleasant surprises are Jonathan Marchessault. We know his talent. We know he has talent. He leads the team with 40 points. William Karlsson has been outstanding for them. He's their goal leader. He's had 22 goals on the season. And then Riley Smith, I expected him to do that. But Fleury, even since coming back from injuries, 9-2-1 with a 1.73 goals against. And Malcolm Subban's been in that situation as well. He's been playing outstanding as well. So there's really no complaining to the way this team has just been playing.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good. Oh, we're like, oh, he's just frozen on our screen. Yeah. No worries. We're just talking about. We decided to continue talking about Vegas here. So we're talking about like Karlsson.
What I was gonna say is that the goal differential is amazing. They're at now, and I that really tells me that they're not just getting points; they're outplaying their opponents.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
As Jared brought up, and I think it's a very valid point, they're outworking their opponents. I'm not sure it's a level of skill. It's a level of how much are they working to get those goals. And I'll give them this. They have a level of youth that some other teams don't have. I don't know.
I think, honestly, I really have to give it up for their front office because it's not easy to pick players. Like, okay, they had a lot of players to pick from in the expansion draft from each team, but it's not easy just to sit down and be like, okay, we're building a fresh team now. What pieces do we put into play? You know, like what forms of veteran players do we need to get? What kind of youth do we need to get? You know, you need to build your farm system as well. So I think they're doing everything that they can, and it's proven to be good so far.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that first podcast. I was actually watching it the other day because I was cutting it up for a portfolio video, and all of us were like, "Oh, they're gonna be a bottom of the league team." Like,
yeah.
Like we can see them getting better, but like for now, they're gonna be a bottom of the league team because they picked like a bunch of third line players. Now here's the question. I think this is a valid question to ask. What would happen if they had picked all the players? Like if they had picked all those top line players they could have picked, because they picked
Yeah.
like a bunch of third line players, and we were all like,
Role players.
why
yeah.
are they picking these people? They could pick so much better players. So if they had picked some of those better players, where would they be now?
No.
Like, it'd be insane, in my opinion. I don't know.
I don't think they're in the same spot that they are. I think the front management did a really nice job, and I think they did it right, and it shows that they did it right, that they started with goaltending first.
Yeah, you definitely need to as much as scoring is important, you literally need to build from the back of the rink to the front of the rink if you look at it. So you start in your crease, then you go to the front of the crease, which is your defenseman, and then now you go to your forwards. That's the way that I look at it.
Yeah. Here's the thing. They got 3 goalies, right? Out of that draft, they got 3. I think they got 3.
Yeah, they got Calvin Pickard as well, and I don't know whatever happened to him.
He might be in the minors.
Yeah,
he wasn't that great for the Avs.
Yeah.
He's a backup goalie, that's for sure.
So, but here's the thing. They got Marc-Andre Fleury for less than free.
Yeah.
They got Marc-Andre Fleury and I believe it was a 2nd round draft pick.
Yeah.
How do you get Pittsburgh to give you Marc-Andre Fleury and a 2nd round draft pick? That like the level of like there's got to be some balls from the management at Vegas to be like, no, I need a 2nd round draft pick to pick Fleury. like how do you get Pittsburgh to be like, all right, here you go? Like, that's not an easy thing to do.
They gave him some golden pucks. That's what they did.
Yeah, I you gotta give Vegas credit. Now, granted, they screwed over pretty much every team in the league.
Yeah.
They screwed over every team in the league. But there's a level.
Go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
I was kind of surprised that, talking about the expansion draft a little bit, how Matt Duchene wasn't offered up from the Avs to them when you knew he wanted to leave. That kind of surprised me a little bit.
Was Matt Duchene a protected player? I'm gonna look.
Yeah, I think so.
If he's a protected player, then he had to waive his contract.
Oh, right.
He had to waive his offer, which he may not have wanted to go and play for Vegas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
I mean, I think okay, from Matt Duchene's perspective, all right, and everyone else's perspective, Vegas, we all thought Vegas was going to be a bottom of the league team, no matter who they drafted.
Yeah.
We knew they were going to be an expansion team, which meant it's going to take them a little bit to get to where they are. Duchene's already on a team that pretty much is taking time to rebuild. So either he goes to a team, signs a new contract with them, or he stays in Colorado and looks for a trade to somewhere that he knows is going to be better than where he is. That's probably how Matt Duchene's probably looking at it, which is, I think, is a fair way to look at it. No one expected Vegas to be where they are.
No, not at all.
No one.
Now, okay, can I just bring something up about Vegas as well? Did you guys hear about the lawsuit that they are?
Yeah, I was actually going to bring that up too. Yeah.
I think that's really interesting. They are currently about to be in a lawsuit with the United States Army because
it's with West Point, right? Isn't it with West Point? Is it with West Point or is it with the actual Army?
I don't know. It's their parachute team.
Maybe it is with
owns the rights to the Golden Knights team. It's a trademark.
Can you give us background information, because I haven't heard this?
This happened recently.
Vegas, yeah, it's very recent. Vegas actually released a statement, and they said, basically just saying like that it doesn't make any sense for them to sue them because it says we are not aware of a single complaint from anyone attending our games that they were expecting to see the parachute team and not a professional hockey game.
Which is just an obvious statement of I don't know the law. Because it's a trademark issue. As the law's not going to look at it and be like, well, he's not wrong. Like, no, that's not how the law works. Good try.
Yeah.
Their legal department should have already known that going into it.
Right.
It's
right.
Let's see. I'm reading into it, an article on Forbes to see.
That's what I'm reading as well.
Did the Army? Okay, so the Army, so it's the actual branch of the military, has filed a trademark oppositions against the Knights. 2 trademark applications: Vegas Golden Knights and Las Vegas Golden Knights. A trademark opposition is an administrative proceeding held before a specialized body or tribunal that specializes in deciding trademark disputes. So yeah, basically they're saying we have this trademarked, and you didn't get our permission, or you're not paying us.
So it's copyright issues.
Yeah, it's the same. It's a similar concept. Yes, trademarks are done. Trademarks cover a different set of things. So copyright covers more like content. Trademark is more of like logos
and names.
Yeah.
So they're feuding over the logo?
No, the name itself.
They're feuding over the name. Yeah, the logo, unless it was an exact copy of unless there's an exact copy of the logo, which is possible, but they're not doing that.
I don't even think the logos are not exactly similar, but it's definitely more the name that's the issue.
Okay, so this is interesting. They don't have their trademark registered. It's a common law trademark. So basically, go ahead.
Who doesn't have it registered?
Army. So
that makes it interesting.
So basically, this is how. So you don't have to have your copyright does not have to be registered.
Right.
Technically.
But if you want to make money off of it, it has to be. Isn't that correct?
No, if you want it to be easier in court for you, you want it to be registered.
Yeah.
Because it's easier to prove. Same thing with a trademark. The only difference is that the Army's been using it for years.
Yeah.
They're a government.
But it looks like from the Forbes article that they haven't filed any official paperwork.
They haven't filed any official paperwork. You are correct.
It definitely any law case is a long and outstanding issue. So it's not going to be tomorrow that this happens. So let's talk about this. So let's say I don't fully know the law, and you could take 5 years of law classes and still not fully know the law, because it's a bunch of legal stuff. Yeah.
So it looks like it's over the name of it.
Yeah.
So let's assume that they say, all right, we're ruling in Army's favor for the tribunal or whatever. The tribunal says, we're ruling in Army's favor, and we want you to we want you to change the name. Chances are, I'm not sure that's would happen. Chances are they probably just say you have to pay them such and such amount for however many if they want to keep it.
I don't know. I kind of feel the other way. I feel like they would make them do it, especially since it's the Army. Like, it's such a big and well established like branch of our military. So
they'll probably give them an ultimatum. They'll say you can do this or you can do this. So it depends on the ownership. So let's assume they have to change the name. All right? Or they decide to change the name. What do you think they're going to change the name to?
It would definitely have to be something relating to Vegas.
I would like the Gamblers.
The Aces, something like that.
The Aces, that's an interesting. I've heard
The Golden Aces.
I've heard like the Rattlers, as in like rattlesnakes. I've heard.
Yeah, I could definitely see that, but I don't know.
Someone brought this up, and I think it's a valid point. Why not just name them the Spartans?
Yes, that would be a lot better.
I would totally be on board with calling them the Spartans. Like,
they wouldn't have to change their logo either.
No, they wouldn't have to change their logo or their colors. And you're not like, you don't have to pay anyone for that. Like,
right.
I don't know what someone brought this up. They were like, either just call them the Knights, the Vegas Knights,
right,
or call them the Vegas Spartans.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not even really a knight helmet. It's a Spartan helmet.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting. I don't know. This is interesting to see what happens. I think Army has a case here. That the problem is Army actually has a case. Some people.
Yeah.
So I saw some people on Twitter. They're like, Army doesn't have a case. I'm like, yeah, they do. They have a legitimate case here. This is not. It has nothing to do with the fact that you like your hockey team. I don't care who you are. There's a level of you. I don't care. Like it's over.
It's basically. I mean, you could kind of relate it to.
Honestly, though, I don't think this takes away. I think this is just a front office story, and it doesn't take away from their outstanding play. I think.
Absolutely not. That's not going to affect the way they play at all. I don't think the players really care that much, to be honest. But
yeah,
I think it's like relatable to the Indian tribes too, and like even with North Dakota and how they have changed. Like, yeah, it's a big change of scenery. You got to change logos and a lot of branding, but it's not going to change the way the team plays.
Yeah, I agree. This will be interesting to see what happens.
I think it will too, but I'd more personally I'd rather focus on their play. To be quite honest.
Yeah.
This definitely is kind of a thing at this point where they're just throwing it under the covers and just leaving it up to management and all that.
Yeah,
I think this would be a bigger story if it hadn't been if they have been doing poorly.
That's a fair statement. Yeah. That's a fair statement. They're making tons of money off of this team. And
Oh man, I think they probably sell out every game.
But okay, let's be honest here. I think they sell out every game because a lot of the people who come in are tourists.
It's tourists, yeah.
Yeah,
it's not. That's for sure. I mean, if I was in Vegas, I'd go to a game. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, there's not because there's not a whole lot to like. Is
it near the Strip?
Also, I'm 19 years old. So.
I'm pretty sure it's like on the Strip or very close to the Strip.
Yeah. Okay.
Their arena, yeah. There's not a whole lot to do in Vegas if you're like within a certain age range. Like,
that's what I'm saying. I'm 19,
and
definitely go to Vegas.
And quite honestly, there's also not a whole lot of legal things to do in Vegas.
Oh.
There's a lot of like illegal drugs that go on, and like
they make it legal.
Make it legal, right? It's legal if no one knows about it, right? No.
Yeah.
No, there's a lot of there's not a whole lot to do in Vegas outside of drink and do other stuff, but quite honestly, bringing a hockey team to Vegas, this is always my complaint. You don't actually have a loyal fan base in Nevada.
No,
I don't think that's actually the
it's not a
case.
hockey market.
No,
It's not a hockey
it's a
market.
tourist. It's all tourists. And like if you look at, for example, like I don't know, let's just take like the New York Islanders. They're not a bunch of tourists. They're
Right.
an actual hockey market.
Very loyal.
The Colorado Avalanche, same thing. If you're gonna look at, the Dallas Stars, same thing. Like these aren't touristy places.
Right.
And you might get tourists that go there to like,
But
and then
there's more fans.
right,
than
there's
anything.
actual fans that
I
are
think-
going there.
I think it'd be cool to actually go down to Vegas and all right, so in general, I'm just going to use this as an example being from Illinois. I'm going to relate to the Cubs. Everywhere that I go, there's people wearing Cubs gear and like they just love the Cubs. I would think it'd be interesting to go to Vegas and, go to bars, even just walking down the strip or whatever and see how many people are actually wearing Vegas Golden Knights gear.
Do you think the citizens of Nevada actually know that they're in first place? I think that's a fair question.
I don't know.
There's definitely a following there. It's new to people, and like I don't think that obviously Nevada is not a huge hockey state, so I think anything that's new to people and they're winning. So I think that it's probably a talk of the state.
Yeah, I'll give them. I will say there are fans that are from the local community there. I'm not going to discredit that, but
It seems like more of a national team at this point. I feel like there's even more of a national.
How
like,
many people
following
do
that-
you see just walking around toting Vegas stuff? Like, I don't know. To me, like, oh, I'm hopping on the Vegas train. Like,
Right, that's what it seems like.
yeah,
Like people just buy.
I mean, I'll root for them in the
Vegas gear
playoffs.
because
Like
it's
I want to
new.
see them do well because I think it's a darling story.
I
they're
think we all do.
they're a cool team. I don't. I don't.
Very cool, yeah.
They're. In terms of who they are as an identity, it's kind of interesting to watch them play. I still don't like Vegas Gold. I said that at the first podcast that we did on the CSL podcast. Yeah. I can't stand Vegas Gold. Same exact thing here. Their jersey design isn't bad. I just want them to change away from gold. I just don't like gold. But yeah,
I think the black and gold works for them.
For their logo, it makes sense.
Gray uniform.
Yeah, it's the gray. I don't know. Their gloves are the worst. I can't stand their gloves. I literally can't stand their gloves.
I like the idea of the interchangeable gloves though, from moving from uniforms. I think that's a good idea. But
yeah, that I don't have a problem
where
with
they get
it.
the red from. That's my question.
Yeah, they threw that red in randomly last minute.
Yeah,
because it originally was just gonna be a gold stripe on their arm.
Okay.
And then I don't know. It just I don't know. It's an interesting jersey for sure. And
yeah.
I don't know. Like
I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
If someone gave me a Vegas jersey and said wear this, I would not be opposed to wearing it. Like
right.
There are some jerseys, like for example, the Nashville away jersey. If someone gave me that and said wear this, I'd be like, no, I am not touching that. That jersey is ugly.
I think it's more the fact that if someone gave me a whole uniform of Nashville's to wear with the socks, the pants, and the jersey, I'd definitely say no.
Yeah. That's a fair statement.
Uniform is key.
Yeah, the uniform has to look good to me. Yeah, I don't know. There's a couple teams in the league where I'm just like, I don't like your uniform.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of that changing. And honestly, like from seeing some of the jerseys that Nike has put out in the hockey world, I think Nike needs to take over the NHL as well. Not only the NBA but NHL, because
just give CCM the rights.
Jerseys for the US.
Oh yeah, those were not bad. I think they could have done a little bit better, but
I think the idea is very cool.
It's better than the Olympic jerseys.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. We could get into a rant about that.
Yeah. I think you guys have talked about that before anyway.
Yeah, we talked about that on
I just like to point this out about the Vegas Knights though, that their goal saving percentage is outstanding. Like
Yeah.
goals against average for Marc-Andre Fleury 1.73, Oscar Dance 1.78, and even their third string, I mean 2.38. That's nothing to scoff at. Just to bring it back to the Knights again.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. Because Fleury's been injured, was injured for a fair amount of that season, but
Malcolm Subban took on a lot of the load after that.
Is PK Subban's brother, or are they related?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, they're related. The interesting thing with Vegas is that they have with Fleury jumped right into the role pretty much right after he got, like, he wasn't injured, or like pretty much after he was done being injured, and he literally just he jumped right in. Like, it wasn't even it's interesting to watch them play, because I don't think I've ever seen a team like Vegas play so well to where they are with all the new people that they have. Because this is a random bunch of players who somehow have the chemistry to play well. I
think they really struck lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, they did. Vegas is all about luck. They got lucky.
I give it up to Gerard Gallant, to be honest. Like, you don't just come into a team and not know, like, not many of these players have played with each other, first of all. Mm-hmm. So you don't come into a team blindsided and just be like, okay, well, what do we do? Like, he obviously had a plan to be able to, whatever it is, team bonding or whatever. But
yeah,
I don't know. He's done a hell of a job.
So I'm gonna go through the players here. I'm not gonna go through all of them, but I'll go through probably the first like 6 or 7 of them, just to give you guys an idea. So this is based off of points. So players with the most points. So first place we have Jonathan Marchessault. As we talked about, he has 40 points, 16 goals, 24 assists. That's outstanding. First of all, Jonathan Marchessault, I don't know why Florida ever gave him up. He was actually, did you know this? He was on Tampa Bay. He was originally on Tampa Bay, yeah. And somehow got put to Florida somewhere in that process. I don't know how, because he was on the year that they went to the Stanley Cup, if I remember correctly. Which is interesting because he's an outstanding player. Yeah. Which leads to Tampa Bay's depth, but outstanding player. William Karlsson, who they got from Toronto, if I remember correctly.
No, he came from Columbus.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. There's another Karlsson, I believe, in Toronto, maybe.
I think he might have been somewhere else as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Maybe. You're right. He's from
Erik Karlsson.
Oh yeah, I'm thinking of Erik Karlsson. I don't know why. Yeah, that's Ottawa. Yeah. I don't know why I was blanking on that. William Karlsson. He has 36 points, 22 goals, 14 assists. Yeah, it's not bad.
He leads the team in goals.
Yeah. Riley Smith is third in points. He has 35 points overall, 11 goals, 24 assists. David Perron.
Which is no surprise.
Yeah, that really is no surprise for him. David Perron, 9 goals, 25 assists, 35 points overall.
That's impressive on the assist market.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for him, he's had some concussion issues. And for him to be playing the way he is and being as healthy as he is now, that's impressive. James Neal, probably the guy who got them started off on this pace in the first place. 29 points, 18 goals, 11 assists. So
weren't we talking about him and he was at like 17 points in like the first 12 games or something ridiculous like that.
He started really hot.
Yeah, he got really hot at the beginning.
He tapered off. I mean, 17 points from there to now is only 12-point difference. I mean, that's kind of not where you want to be.
I
But-
mean,
the other players have stepped into these roles,
Yeah.
and we look at Marchessault, and he's obviously leading the team in points, and they've just like they've had so much contribution from everybody that you can't just like say that 29 points isn't like good at this point.
Yeah.
yeah, there's a level
fair.
of every player's gonna taper off at some point in the season.
Mhm.
They might get hot. They'll might get hot again later in the season or whatnot. So it just depends on when they get hot. Because he got hot at the beginning of the season, I expect him, if he's gonna get hot, he's gonna get hot again closer to playoff time.
Right.
That's
Where
kind of
his-
how I look at him, and it's
That's
been
what his
nice.
experience is going to show.
Yeah, and that's just that happens to every player in the league, I think.
Mhm.
But the nice thing for Vegas is that the other players have stepped up, because it's not all on. This is the difference between Chicago and Vegas. All right, Chicago has Taves and Kane, all their plays riding on them. Vegas has all their play riding on other players with Neil supporting them, which is
Right.
impressive. There's a difference in at least that you can see in terms of the stats. And that's important to point out, I think, for him. Eric Halla, who was a former Minnesota player, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
28 points, 15 goals, 13 assists. That's impressive for him. You have Alex Tuch, Tuch. I have no idea who. Tuck? I don't know where he's from. I actually never.
He's
heard.
a OHL player. He's a rookie.
Oh, really? Well, he's got 21 points. He's 9 goals, 12 assists. Yeah. Overall, I'm not gonna go through all of them, but
I think the points taper off after that. It kind of goes down to the 10s and 13s.
Yeah, it does. Let's look at. I want to look at the goalies here. So as we brought up here, Marc-Andre Fleury, 9-2-0-1. So 9 wins, 2 losses, 1 overtime.
I have a question. Why is that tie even there? Is that to say that why is that even a thing in the stat?
Because NHL is dumb and doesn't know how to I don't know. I'm just kidding.
I have to say though, they do the stats the best out of all the sports. They do the stats the best.
Yeah, they do have some issues with how they do stats, but
there are a lot of analytics in the sport of hockey. So
yeah,
I think there's.
I was actually listening to if you guys listen, I don't know if you guys listen to this player, but I listened to the Steve Dangle podcast. I was listening to this last night. Apparently, this is an interesting statistic. So the Toronto Maple Leafs they apparently have James Van Riemsdyk's stick in the Hockey Hall of Fame for, I think it was like the 20,000th NHL goal for the Toronto Maple Leafs as a whole, not for him, just for the team. But they don't actually have 20,000 goals. Because a lot of those came from shootouts.
Interesting.
So it's interesting because in the shootout statistic, the goals count for the team, but they don't count for the player.
Right, yeah.
Which is weird. That's weird. You would think that if they count for the team, they should count for the player as well. But apparently the NHL doesn't count it that way. So I think
it's more the fact that the scoreboard, so that's why they don't get statistically counted towards the players.
Yeah, fair. I don't know. It's just an interesting statistic I noticed, that he brought up. So that's a fair way of looking at it, I guess. I don't know. It was just interesting to see that. I was like, or hear that. I was like, oh, all right. But anyway, Marc-Andre Fleury. I don't know why they have the tie stat there. But so he has a goals against average of 1.73, which is a save percentage of .945. That's outstanding.
Oh yeah.
Especially in this league where goals are just happening nonstop. I mean, it's been ridiculous how much goal scoring has happened. I don't know if it's the rules that have changed that have led to this, but I don't remember teams averaging 4 goals a game
Yeah,
in recent years.
I don't know what the cause of it is really.
I mean, there's it's a lot of buildup that has kind of happened because I mean, throughout the years um they've adjusted goaltenders' pads and just made sure that like
Yeah.
it's more of a thing that making it more suitable for America because America's like, all right, scoring, 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 like football, baseball. You want to see high scoring games, so
Yeah. They want to make it more fast paced. I'm not sure I agree with that, but
but how
um,
can like it's already fast paced as it is. You don't
yeah.
need that element.
I don't know.
But this is coming from people who have watched hockey for years, so we can't really say much. It's more for the
True.
outsiders than anything.
Yeah.
True. There's a level of like you come from all right. There's a level of quantity versus quality. This is the best way I know how to describe it. You come from a sport like basketball. There's no quality in the scoring, right? It
No.
doesn't matter until the fourth quarter, right?
Right.
They keep putting up 2-pointers and like what are you
Yeah.
cheering for really? Like
Yeah.
you're sitting there watching the
You're cheering for the
game.
alley-oop and you're cheering for the dunk, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And or like the random 3-pointer or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Like there's not a whole lot to cheer for, and that's a quantity over quality kind of thing. And
Mhm.
hockey is more quality over quantity. So there's a
Right.
level of like scoring a goal in hockey actually means something. Scoring a
Yeah.
And I guess I feel like it's kind of the same with I'm trying to figure out like which closely. I don't know if it's closer related to baseball or football. I feel like maybe football more than baseball because I feel like baseball maybe they're scoring a little bit more often.
uh I think it relates to both of them. I would also throw in soccer. Soccer is
Yeah,
also a
definitely,
very good one
definitely.
for that. Because I mean if you think about that like in soccer, now granted there's ties in soccer, so but when people score, it means something.
Oh
That's why
yeah.
the
Right.
fans
When I saw goals when I went to London to see a soccer match, that was my main reason. The whole stadium went nuts after the first goal, like super
Oh
nuts.
yeah. Oh yeah, you can hear the stadium in the microphone anytime you watch highlights or whatever.
They're also super passionate about
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
their sports.
It's like original 6 teams in hockey.
Yeah,
Except
yeah.
it's for all of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's it's definitely a quantity versus quality thing. So that's you're correct, Jared, on why that's happened. But
Mhm.
let's see, Oscar Dansk.
He's been
Damn.
injured, I think, because it doesn't look like he's shown a lot of games played.
I don't think he's actually up in the NHL right now.
No, I think he's in the AHL because
Yeah.
so this is from what I've heard.
He was their third string goalie to begin with.
Yeah.
Oh really? I thought Subban was.
No. So
No.
what I didn't know this because I didn't even know they had Malcolm Subban until he started playing for them. I thought he was still with Boston. So apparently the general manager and whatnot, they think that Malcolm Subban is going to be their starting goalie, but they want to work him up into that role. So Fleury is their starting goalie for now, but they know Fleury's old, so they're gonna.
Yeah, they definitely built for the future.
Yeah, so they're
That's
getting.
what they needed.
They're like, Malcolm Subban is our goalie for the next 10 years, so we're gonna train him up to be that.
Right,
With
and
Fleury.
Fleury's definitely the guy that you would want to put in that position to
As a coach, as a mentor.
Yeah, exactly. To train him.
Yeah, and so because of that, that's why. Ironically, they're both playing a fair amount of games, yeah, and they're both playing really well.
But if you're Gerard Gallant and you look at this situation, I don't think you have a problem with it. I mean,
no, I don't have
Fleury's
a problem with it.
I think Fleury took on such a big role in in Pittsburgh that I think he should be all right with this.
Yeah. I really don't see a reason for Vegas being like I don't see a reason for them not making the playoffs. It'll be interesting to see what happens
not
when
at
they get to the
all.
playoffs.
No.
Well, how many games have they played total so far? Should be somewhere 41. So
I believe.
they're
Yeah.
actually kind of behind on games compared to other
Yeah,
teams.
they had a summer bye week like the Avalanche did.
Okay. Were
So
they
St. Louis is at 46. That's the highest I see.
were they I think they were in a cuz I think Colorado, Anaheim, and Vegas must have all had the same bye week.
Yeah. I'm guessing the regions, because from what I see, out of that division, the most games played is from Edmonton. But
Yeah.
other than that, everyone's just around that 42 to 44 game mark.
Okay, let's talk about Edmonton for a moment. I actually kind of want to touch on Edmonton. We'll get back to Vegas here in a sec, but
No,
okay.
completely fine.
What did you guys think that Edmonton was going to be this way? I don't remember what you said about Edmonton going into the season, Jared, but
No.
yeah, I thought okay.
I think that collectively, I feel like collectively we all thought that they were going to be top 2 in that Pacific Division.
Here's what I thought. I thought Edmonton was going to be strong, but they're not going to be as strong as they could have been because of the McDavid Draisaitl deal. That's what I thought, because no one's going to want to come and play for them now, because they're not going to have the money.
And they don't have the money.
Yeah.
They don't have the money. Yeah.
So now I knew that they were going to rely on McDavid to get them to where they are, which I know is a poor management system.
They have wholeheartedly done too.
They definitely have.
Worked out, really.
Yeah.
No, it's not worked out at all.
It's not the NBA. It's the NHL.
Yeah, everyone sort of shares a role in play time, and obviously there's guys that get over 20 minutes of ice time and stuff like that, but it's a league where third and fourth liners really they're playing I don't know 8-10 minutes at least, and that's a substantial amount if you think about it. That's a good 8 shifts.
Yeah, it definitely is a good 8 shifts. Like I don't know. I look at Edmonton. I don't think they should be in the position they are now.
No,
based on their players, but I think that they're not gonna exceed. I don't think they're gonna get in a playoff spot this year. I could be wrong.
No,
but I don't think they're gonna be in a playoff spot this year.
But we have been proven to been wrong this year.
Yeah, but sure. I think it's by teams that have the ability to to prove us wrong.
Right.
Vegas is kind of an interesting story with that, but like, for example, Chicago. I think Chicago has the ability to prove us wrong.
Yeah.
And LA has the ability.
I think that's a point I kind of brought up when we were talking about our playoff predictions, is that like they just know how to get in.
Yeah.
And like it's just at the end of the day, it's their will to push and be able to make it to the playoffs.
It's like the Red Wings. They had 22 years straight in playoffs. 24. And they just
actually I think they made it 25. Actually, I don't know, but yeah, either way, go ahead.
But it's kind of like them, how they just know how to get to where they need to be to win a cup.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think Edmonton has that. Just not yet, at least.
It's poor management.
They don't. The problem with them is they don't know how to win enough to get there. Like, they haven't done the road trip. Like they haven't done the roads to get there.
Yeah.
Well, what I think since the years that they've had McDavid, I think the furthest they've made it to is the second round, and was that last year when they beat San Jose in the first round, correct?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I believe so.
That went to a game 7, if I remember correctly.
That's what I love about hockey playoffs. Like hockey playoffs, I think is the best playoff system. You don't know who's gonna win.
Yeah, I agree. There's a level of at least in terms of an American system.
Yeah.
It's interesting to watch. And I think part of that is because teams are so balanced. You don't.
The salary cap has a lot to do with it.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of, like, for example, the NBA doesn't have that because it's a superstar based system. If you have the superstars, you win.
Now, I think honestly, like, I think the NFL's kind of left out of this conversation when you talk about it, because if you guys don't know, the NFL, every team shares the same amount of money. So whatever revenue is
brought
created,
in.
Yeah, they all share that same amount of money. So I think that system is actually pretty strong too.
Yeah, the NFL isn't bad in terms of like team play.
They generate a lot more money than NHL, and that's the reason why they have teams that, like the Patriots, who have like such star power and stuff like that.
Yeah, true. I think it's just,
I was just going off of the exciting factor of the NHL playoffs, though.
that is true. I don't find the NFL as exciting to watch.
For me.
Yeah, I don't.
And it's probably going to get me to buy the NHL package just because of the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, the playoffs are just so exciting to watch. I mean, how many times do you sit down and you watch the Stanley Cup final and you're sitting there going, I'm picking a team to root for even though it's not my team.
Right. That's
like,
what I was thinking.
I rooted for Pittsburgh against Nashville. Do you know how hard that was for me to do? Oh my god.
I was on the other boat.
Oh, you were rooting for Nashville? I couldn't root for Nashville. I was too salty after they beat my Ducks. At least Pittsburgh didn't play the Rangers, so
right.
Yeah,
would have really been torn.
Yeah, no, I don't know. But it was one of those things. Well, first of all, I knew that Phil Kessel was the difference maker for me in that. I love Phil Kessel.
Right.
It pains me he's in a Pittsburgh jersey, but he's an outstanding player. It was
a good move for him, though, if he wanted to.
Oh,
because he wanted to win a cup.
Oh yeah, and he didn't want to deal with. He didn't want to be the spotlight of the media, like he was in Toronto.
Right.
Anyway, that being said, let's go back to Vegas. So let's talk about Vegas in the playoffs. Going off of playoff talk, let's talk about Vegas in the playoffs. If Vegas goes, well, they'll be in the playoffs. But let's say they win that Pacific Division title, which they could easily do. What do you think happens with Vegas? Do you think, first of all, even if they make the playoff, or even when they make the playoffs, do you think they win the Stanley Cup? Or where do you think they end up in terms of that?
I'll take this one. I think they need to go through those growing pains, if you know what I mean, from losing a few rounds of the playoffs to get them mature enough to win the cup. I honestly see them going out the first round because they don't have that playoff experience, and seeing that they don't have those growing pains either, I don't think they have a chance. But they're certainly in the contention.
Jared, what do you think?
I mean, to be honest with you, I never count any team out, and especially with the way that they've been playing. I think Ryan brings up a good point, though. Playoff experience is just huge in this league, and if you're going into the playoffs, I mean, you have a coach that's pretty well experienced, but I just with the amount of players that they have that don't have that experience at all, it's gonna be really rough for them. I mean, if the playoffs started today, with the way that standings are, they would be playing Chicago, and in all honesty, it'd be a good series, but it would probably be a first round buyout at that point, just because of the experience factor.
Yeah, I here's the thing that I notice about Vegas. Vegas is playing regular season hockey. It's a completely different story when you get into playoffs because most teams run I don't want to say a different style, but more of a tough style when it comes to playoffs.
Right, it's definitely a different pace.
It's a different pace. It's a different level of play, and there's they're tighter games.
Yeah.
So when you watch Vegas now, they're playing regular season hockey, right? And I don't.
Right.
And now, granted, some of the players already know that they're playing regular season hockey, but I think when they get to when they actually get to the playoffs, and they end up playing. Let's see, so right now I think they'd be playing. Would they be playing Chicago?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So if they played Chicago first round. Well, they might beat Chicago, but so let's say they win the first round, then they have to beat whoever wins between right if the playoffs started today, by the way, Calgary or LA. I think LA would win that.
Yeah.
So if they're playing LA is gonna beat Vegas. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Vegas is gonna lose to LA if they get to that point. If the playoffs started today. Now, granted, I don't think that's going to happen because with Anaheim getting healthy and Minnesota sort of starting to play well again and San Jose kind of still in the mix. I'm not knocking Colorado either. Colorado's still in that mix. I don't know. There's a level of,
it's just so unpredictable
Colorado
at
makes
this
the
point.
playoffs, I'd be happily surprised. And I think I'd jump down in tears.
Oh, who? Colorado?
Yeah, I just don't see it happening. Their defense is shoddy at best, and their goaltending is something to be asked for. It's. I think they have a lot more problems than people think.
Yeah, I agree. I'm surprised they're even up this high.
Yeah. At this point, there's a lot of teams that shouldn't be where they're at, and again, like we're a good 45 games into the season, but it's at that point where it's like it's still kind of too early to even say like nothing's guaranteed.
Yeah, I agree. There's not really a good reason for Colorado to be actually in the playoffs, in my opinion. I think that
no, and I don't think overall they'll make it there either.
No, I don't, and that's kind of a sad thing to say because I kind of want to see them in a playoff spot, but at the same time,
Nathan McKinnon deserves it.
Huh?
So wait one second. Nathan McKinnon deserves to be in the playoffs.
We saw that Nathan McKinnon.
Yeah, I agree with the way he's been playing. I think Colorado's management needs to do better. If they're gonna get anywhere, they need to do better.
Yeah.
I think the team that everyone's that will be in a playoff spot, out of that Pacific Division, will be Anaheim. I think Anaheim, the moment they get healthy, the moment they get Patrick Eaves back, the moment they get Corey Perry just came back, and the moment Ryan Kessler actually does come back again, it'll be different. It'll be a different story.
Yeah.
I don't know if they don't make the playoffs. Randy Carlyle's fired. There's no doubt about that. But anyway, I don't want to talk about Anaheim. So anyway, so Vegas has been a very interesting story. Anything else you guys want to touch on with Vegas before we move on?
I think I'm good, to be honest.
Okay. Ryan, we're gonna move on to Tampa Bay. You cool with that?
Okay. Yeah, I'm cool with that.
Sweet. All right, so let's talk about Tampa Bay here, because they've also, well, they're not as much of a surprise as Vegas, but they have been sort of a surprise with the amount of people they traded away. But so right now, let's talk about Vegas currently, because Tampa Bay currently. My brain's still on the wrong side of what we're talking about. So let's talk about Tampa Bay. So Tampa Bay has actually lately not been playing all that great. They lost the last game against Calgary 5-1, which is not very good for a Tampa Bay team. That was their last game before going into break. Before that, they won against, I forget who they won against. But I just remember that that there was a hat trick scored by
wasn't it?
I'm blanking.
Tyler Johnson.
Tyler Johnson. Thank you. I could picture him. His name just wasn't popping up for me.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. So, I just remember they had a hat trick, but before that, they had lost like 4 in a row, if I remember correctly.
It's definitely been a lot. It's definitely been a lot rockier than but still.
They played Carolina.
3,
yeah,
that's just outstanding. And for them, they can afford to lose a couple games at this point. You know?
Yeah, I agree. It's just been an interesting. So they beat Toronto. So they lost 3 in a row. Okay, but they lost 4 of the last 5 games. So they beat Toronto 2-0. They lost to Montreal 2-1 in a shootout. They lost to Ottawa 6-3, which was ew. They beat Detroit. I'm wrong on that. They beat Detroit. 5-2. I thought Detroit had won that. And then Carolina, they beat 5-4, which was a closer game than it should have been. And then 5-1 they lost to Calgary. So they've been kind of rocky here. I guess they have a couple good ones here. Overall though, I think there's a there's a level of inconsistency with Tampa Bay that we're not seeing, or we haven't seen all season. So I guess the question kind of arises: is this a little bit of is this shakiness in terms of their play right now something that they should worry about going into playoff?
I don't think so, because I think we're in the dog days of the season right now, and so I think it's just them just getting bored and wanting playoff hockey to come, you know.
Okay.
But
yeah.
See, I agree with that, the statement on the dog days, but I don't know if they're too anxious to get into the playoffs at this point. I think it's more of just let's see how we do until we get to the All-Star break, and then after the All-Star break, we're gonna come back and be the team that we need to be in order to be sustainable for the playoffs.
Yeah, I think there's a level of fatigue as well. I mean,
I think the All-Star break's a good thing for a lot of teams, though, and a bad thing.
Do you think it should be longer, though? Because it's a long season, and it's demanding of the physical body. I think they should at least have 2 weeks to recuperate because of the body that they punish themselves through.
I don't have an issue.
Okay.
Here's.
I'm just gonna.
Go ahead, Jared. No, go ahead,
Okay.
Jared.
Okay. Well, I'm just speaking from personal experience. Obviously, I never played in the NHL, but I've played hockey my whole life, and I feel like when it's more of that you'd rather. Okay, I'll take a 5-day break and I'll be fine. But if you take that 2-week break, that's kind of just getting you out of your whole function, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I think the players would rather just continue to play and do their job.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. I think there's a level of a groove that they have to deal with. You know, like when you're hot, and you want to ride that streak out. I think this break is good for the coaching staff. I think the breaks are more for coaching staff. They help out the players too, but I think it's more for the coaching staff. So if the coaching staff is like, "Hey, listen, we need to go into this bye week or the All-Star break or whatever and reevaluate our lines and whatnot," then they can do that. I think that's
and The All-Star game's in Tampa Bay this year, correct?
Yeah, so I mean, Cooper doesn't have to go anywhere. The interesting thing is now Gerard Gallant has to fly like 4 hours, whereas last year he didn't have to do that.
Well, now I think it's nice though because the players don't get too much of like relaxation during the year, and I think that's kind of a big thing for them just to be able to. Obviously, they're still going to be busy. They're going to still have stuff to do with skills competition, media, all that stuff. But
right.
at least you're in like a better environment.
Well, and it's really not that tough of hockey. I mean, it's really like okay,
No.
when does anyone actually care about the All-Star game? No.
No, there's really nothing at stake.
Yeah, no one's like, oh my god, the Metropolitan what? No one really cares.
Yeah.
No, it's the fan factor that makes it popular and everything.
All-Star games are built for the cities that they're hosted in, and quite honestly, like it's a cool thing to go to, but I mean, there's it's really the skills competition's kind of cool, like, oh hey, who's the fastest player, blah blah blah. But
right, yeah.
In the words of Pierre Maguire, said this: if you don't like the All-Star game, you don't like hockey. I remember he said that, and we're just like, what? Are you crazy, Pierre? I swear, Pierre.
Speaking of Pierre, you know he actually has prostate cancer.
Yeah, he just had surgery for that. I just saw that.
It's really unfortunate. I mean, all the NBC guys, him and Eddie Olczyk.
Yeah, makes you think maybe there's I don't know. The interesting thing is, Mike Emmerich has really been like not been to all the games. He's not hosting all the games anymore,
right?
Whereas he used to, and I wonder if it's a health thing. I don't know. I don't know
what's.
Like
it's more of just like NBC's deal with I can't think of the other announcer's name, but I know Doc Emmerich is also big on the East Coast, so he kind of sticks to like from the Midwest to the East Coast. He doesn't really like to go to the West Coast. So
yeah. I mean, I guess that's a fair thing. I mean, he'll go there when it's a playoff thing, but yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But even in the playoffs, still, he's mainly New York, New Jersey.
Yeah, it's probably more of a money making thing too, because Mike Emmerich is more he's popular throughout the country, and because of that, they're gonna try and have him be on when most people are gonna be watching. Yeah. Right. How many people are on Pacific time? Not a whole lot of people.
Yeah.
Compared to the rest of the country. So, yeah, I can understand that. But
I can't stand Pacific time.
Yeah. By the way,
waking up at 4 a.m. for soccer games, no way.
Oh yeah, dude, watching the Ducks play at 10 p.m. at night and going to bed at 2 a.m. sucks. By the way, for those of you watching, I have the schedule up for the Tampa Bay Lightning, so you guys can see that. That's been up for a little bit, but I just wanted to show that here, and then I'm gonna transition back into us here. So anyway, but going back to Tampa Bay, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens coming out of the bye week for them, and then going into. I think coming out of All-Star break, that's a very valid point. I didn't think of that. Going into All-Star break, they might be kind of like still kind of dogging it a little bit. I mean, do you think they need to win the Atlantic Division title going into playoffs? Yeah. Is that something that you think they need to do?
I think it's a goal of theirs, but I don't think they need to do it.
Honestly, yeah, I don't think they need to do it, but in the long run, that will help them substantially.
If they want to win a cup, you don't think they need to win it?
No.
How does home field advantage work? Does it go off points?
It goes off rank. So if but like overall rank of the league. So like whoever wins whoever wins the President's Trophy gets automatic home ice advantage no matter what, because they're
Okay.
number one in
Yeah.
the league. So
Throughout all of the playoffs.
right. So like, let's say that
Are they in contention for the President's Trophy right now?
they would win.
They
Yeah.
currently would hold it. Yeah. Right now.
Currently, they would hold it. Yes. If they don't win it, then let's see, because it's the first to 100 points, if I remember correctly. Right?
Yeah.
It's the first to 100.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So the current team on their tail is Winnipeg, with actually Nashville's really close behind.
Vegas. Vegas is behind them.
Oh, 1 point. That's right.
Yeah.
So Vegas has 60, Winnipeg has 59, Nashville is 56. It looks like.
That's kind of weird how they do the first 100 points. I mean, I would think they would do best record, or most points.
I think that's the point of the President's Trophy, though.
Yeah, but the President's Trophy can be it can be locked in really early, or it can be locked in really late.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's whoever there's a time frame. They do it logically. There's a good time frame when they do it.
Okay.
So right now Tampa has 65 points, but they're gone for a whole week. So chances are they're probably not. If I'm Tampa Bay, I don't want to win the President's Trophy.
Really?
No. Teams that have won the President's Trophy usually don't win the cup. The last team that won the cup with the President's Trophy was the New York Rangers in '94.
Oh wow.
So it's the President's Trophy curse. There's a level of that superstition thrown around. But I think I don't know if it's a curse as much as a mental mindset. Because there's a lot of teams that they go in, we have the President's Trophy, we're going to win. Which is not the case.
I would think it would help having home ice and everything.
Yeah, but there's a level of lazy play. What?
Shoot, what's going on?
Say that again. You cut out, Jared.
I think you're wrong on that last stat for the Rangers.
Really?
Because the Red Wings were the last team to do so.
Oh, they had the President's Trophy and the Stanley Cup?
Okay, and
He cut out again, I think, Josh.
Yeah. Let me look up that stat, because I thought for sure that it was the Rangers.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so technically it was the Blackhawks because they won in a lockout year.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot they won that.
They had 77 points. But
Is that
before that, if we're going off a full statistical year, it's the Red Wings in 2008.
Oh really? I did not know they. Okay. I was misled on that. That is my fault.
Yeah,
but
sorry.
yeah, I don't really count the Blackhawks during the lockout year. I don't even really count that as a cup year. To be quite honest, like, I'll give them credit, they won the Stanley Cup, but I don't really count that as a cup. Like,
I mean, you have to though.
I don't know. I put it in their cup win record. I'm not but like other stuff.
It's half a season.
Yeah, it's half a season. I don't know.
Which was really unfortunate.
And like nobody was allowed to practice. Nobody would there's a level of like, I don't know. There's so much that went into that. Anyway, but yeah, no, yeah. So, but there's a level of President's Trophy curse that goes into that, and there's not a whole lot of teams that do like winning that. I mean, look at the Washington Capitals. They've won so many President's Trophies and gotten nowhere.
Yeah, but that's how they've always been.
True. I mean, but the Rangers won the President's Trophy a couple years ago and didn't get to the playoffs, or didn't get into the finals.
Right.
And there was a lot of Ranger fans were like, "No, we don't want you to win that, because now you're not going to win." And so
that was the year. That was 2015.
Yeah, it was 2015. And to be fair, they weren't wrong. Anyway, But yeah, but if I'm Tampa Bay, maybe I go for that second spot. I don't think it's really all that important to win the President's Trophy as much as it is to win. Maybe winning your division is important, but I don't know about winning the President's Trophy. That's just kind of how I look at it.
I don't think it's 100% important, but
yeah,
I feel like I don't know because like home ice advantage is definitely pretty key. So I mean, if they really want that atmosphere and just to be able to know, like, if you're going to a Game 7 in the Stanley Cup, you're going to be playing in front of your fans. So
yeah.
Is
Well,
Tampa Bay a hockey town though? Like, do they have a good fan base?
Yeah, they really do. After they won the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, when they won, what was it? 04? Maybe a little bit.
It was 06 because they won the year before the Ducks won in 07. If I remember correctly.
You're right.
And Tortorella was the coach.
No. Carolina won before Anaheim.
Oh, they did. So maybe you're right. 04-05 then? 04-05?
Yeah, I think they might have been the lockout winners.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure because of them being a hockey town. I just didn't know.
Yeah, they're not like Florida. They're not like Florida. Florida is like the Florida Panthers are not a hockey town, but the Tampa Bay Lightning are.
Yeah.
Sunrise, Florida.
Their stadium's pretty cool. I've been to their stadium. It's just
really,
yeah. They're the. I went to watch the Panthers and the Rangers play like 3 years ago.
Okay.
But it was filled with Rangers fans. So the moment the Rangers won like 7-2, and when
you say filled,
not completely filled, like
no,
yeah, no, I mean, it was probably like 3/4 of the stadium at most. It was pretty empty. I'll say that.
Yeah.
But the Rangers fans out. There were more Ranger fan than Panthers fans there. So the moment the Rangers scored, all of us were like, "Yeah!" And it was just so loud in there.
That sucks as a player.
Yeah, that has to really
play in your own stadium.
I think the Panthers can do better.
Definitely.
They have
a possible team to be relocated.
Possibly.
That's a good possibility. Yeah.
But if they get relocated, I want them relocated to an Eastern team.
Yeah.
They're not going to get relocated to Seattle. Because if they do that, then you have to.
Is Seattle in the market?
Yeah, Seattle just built a new stadium.
Aren't they? They're in the process of it, aren't they?
Or yeah, they like paid.
I think
they like officially made it like that they're having one. They have to make it first, right, I think.
Yeah, they have the outline for it and everything how it's gonna look. So
yeah,
that's good for them.
Seattle could definitely have that team. They definitely have the market for it because they have Seattle.
Oh yeah,
they have a Seattle
the Thunderbirds.
Yeah, the Thunderbirds. That's right. So that's kind of cool. But they have to get.
Seattle's a very passionate sports town too.
Oh, for sure.
Oh yeah.
The Sounders fan club is just amazing.
Yeah, I definitely agree. So, but they're an interesting team that'll be interesting to see what happens. They have to get 2 expansion teams if they bring Seattle into it.
Right.
The East does.
Do you wanna go to surprises now?
Yeah, we can talk about surprises here.
Wait, can I just bring up something off topic? Just really funny.
No. Okay, go ahead.
So I saw this tweet. It says McDavid turns 21 today, and they happen to play in Vegas tonight and have a week-long break.
He's gonna have a 21st.
Oh yeah.
Tomorrow, McDavid arrested.
Yeah.
All right.
Dead.
All right. Let's talk about surprises. For those of you watching, I am going to bring up the statistics here. Do you wanna bring it in? You wanna talk about like the Eastern Conference first, or like do you want to talk about as a league?
I'd like to go to the West if we
Okay.
could.
All right, I'll go to the West here. So let's start with the Western Conference. What has been a surprise for you?
For me, it's been the Avs. They were at 22 wins last year, and they've already hit that mark.
Yeah, yeah, the Avs have definitely been, I think, a good surprise for the Western Conference. Actually, how tight the Western Conference has been a really big surprise, I think.
Right.
But yeah, the Avs definitely help with that. But yeah, I agree. Anything that you've noticed from the Avs that kind of have surprised you outside of the Duchesne trade?
I think it's overall team play. I just didn't see them having this. I mean, it's an average season at best, but I just didn't see them being where they are. And I think that was my nice surprise to me as a fan of them and a supporter. That was kind of nice. And I think that they've been scoring goals, and it's been a welcoming surprise.
Yeah. I would agree. Their level of play has been way above what I thought they would be.
Yeah, I thought they were destined for a top 10 draft pick again, and they'll probably waste it on another forward just for the kicks of it.
Yeah, I mean, they basically they won that trade with Matt Duchesne, I think.
Yeah.
Because they got a bunch of draft picks, which is good.
Yeah.
That's good for them.
Yeah.
Now they just have to spend it on the right things, but
yeah, like defense.
Yeah. Anyway, what about you, Jared? What has been a big surprise for you?
Well, I mean, we already brought up Edmonton. I think that's one of my bigger surprises, so I don't think we need to touch on that too much. But more of looking at like good surprises is an obvious one, but I like to turn more to Winnipeg just because, like, I don't think anyone expected them to be at the top of the Central at this point of the season.
Yeah. I definitely didn't. Connor Hellebuck is not a goaltender I expected to be doing as well as he is.
No, not at all. But I think the move that they made with getting Mason, even if he is in that backup role, I think his experience is enough to kind of help Hellebuck.
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of people expected Mason to be in that starting role, though.
Yes, most definitely.
And I never really saw Mason as a good goalie. And maybe that's because I've only seen him play in Philadelphia, but I never really saw him.
I saw him play in Columbus as well, but never anything like too special. Like he had some good playoff performances and stuff like that, but other than that, nothing too big.
Yeah. Maybe, I don't know. Mason just never seemed like a starting goaltender type to me. But neither did Connor Hellebuck, so right. I've been surprised by that. I think Patrick Laine. Go ahead.
But that goes with a lot of teams. I mean, you think of Vasilevsky. Who would have thought that he would have kind of?
Oh yeah, Tampa Bay with Vasilevsky. Yeah, we never thought we were like, oh, Ben Bishop's gone. They're not going to be in a playoff spot now. And,
yeah, that's true.
Now Vasilevsky.
Imagine that team with Ben Bishop, though. Oh my God.
The more I look at it, though.
Yeah.
I mean, Vasilevsky's been a great surprise and everything, but I can't imagine that team without Ben Bishop. I mean, it would be insane.
But I think, and maybe this is just me. I think a lot of people overrate Ben Bishop. I think Ben Bishop's is good because of his size, but I don't think.
Yeah.
I think Ben Bishop kind of reminds me of Frederik Andersen, where he kind of gives up at a certain point in the game, or just like stops playing. I don't know how to describe it.
No, I agree.
The Stanley Cup final was a different story just because he was injured. When he played against Chicago, and I think he definitely tried all throughout that. He just was injured.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting to watch him on Dallas because I don't think he's doing that well.
Right.
because the defense in front of him is not that great. I don't know.
Better than the ass.
But I don't want to talk about Tampa Bay too much. So let's get back to Winnipeg here. So yeah, you were saying about Winnipeg, Connor Hellebuyck and all of them are playing well. Anything else?
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, like if we look at a ton of firepower, and it's less of a surprise that like these guys are working the way that they are with Patrick Laine. You know, you have Nikolai, Blake Wheeler. Like it's also a surprise that they're and contributing. It's more a surprise that they're in this such powerful division and succeeding.
Yeah, I think Winnipeg provides the level of scoring that they've needed to have. Now they need to provide the level of defense that they needed to have.
Wasn't that that was a question mark going into the season for them? It was their offense. We weren't sure who was going to produce for them.
Yeah, I think that was definitely one of the questions. Because I mean, we knew Patrick Laine could score, but it was a level of who else is gonna step up and do your job.
Holy.
So
Blake Wheeler has 38 assists.
Yeah, Blake Wheeler's been playing outstanding.
38.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, he really has.
That's unbelievable.
And I mean, you said that their defense is questionable, which I mean I sort of agree with, but I just feel like core and definitely a lot of work to do, but they have some good names. I mean, like obviously Bufflin's the one that stands out the most, but
right.
They brought in Tyler Myers. They still have Jacob Trouba. Morrissey has kind of even proven to be a decent defenseman at this point.
Yeah.
And Enstrom as well.
Yeah, it's not like there's a lot of teams that have like, for example, Colorado has obvious holes.
Yeah.
Like they have obvious holes in defense. Winnipeg is like, we have a couple minor tweaks that we can make. We still have a solid defensive core, but there's a couple of things that we could do to make it just a little bit better. Like that's kind of how I look at Winnipeg. It's not like their defense is awful. I'm not saying that. So yeah.
I'm kind of worried about how they'll do defense goalie wise, because if Connor goes down, I'm looking at the stats and Steve Mason is a 3.52 goals against average. That's not going to cut it in the playoffs. So if Connor Hellebuyck goes down, I'm kind of worried about who they put in the net.
That is a fair point. I kind of don't know if Connor will get injured. He's pretty young, in my opinion, and that's not to say he can't get injured. I'm not don't take it that way.
Right.
Yeah.
But he's not like Henrik Lundqvist. If he got injured, it wouldn't be a surprise because he's old.
Right. Or Crawford.
Yeah. Same thing. With Connor Hellebuyck, he's really not in that. I don't know. That's how I look at it. Now, if you're right, if he does get injured, it's something that Winnipeg has to deal with. And I mean, if you look at them, they're playing in the Central Division. They're not really going to handle it all that well. Now, even if they played in the Pacific Division, if they got in a wild card spot for whatever reason, they would still struggle. You know, playing against a Vegas team or a Los Angeles team, even a Calgary team, it'd be a completely different story. And Winnipeg would struggle, I think. So it's a fair comment to make, definitely. Will it happen? I don't know, and we'll see going into that. I think he'll be okay, just because of how young he is. But it is a fair comment to make for sure. Yeah, Winnipeg's an interesting story too. I think my biggest surprise of the season, I have to go with Calgary on this one. I think Calgary.
That's a good one, yeah.
At least in the Western Conference, Calgary. Johnny Gaudreau has taken a couple seasons to get to where he needs to be, which I think is expected. Matthew Tkachuk has done really well for what he is. Now, I don't really like him as an enforcer, but he knows how to play hockey, and he knows how to he's basically the Ryan Kessler of their team, and I give
Yeah.
him props. He knows how to instigate. You know, they haven't really made a whole lot of changes. The only thing that they definitely have changed is goaltending with Mike Smith.
Mike Smith. Yeah.
And that was definitely something they needed to fix, and they did it. And they have done an outstanding job with it. They really have stepped up and played really well this season. I give them a whole lot of credit, and they definitely were a surprise for me. I thought they'd be sitting on a bubble looking at a wild card spot again. Kind of look, you know, maybe in, maybe out kind of deal. And that's kind of where I thought they would be, and they definitely did not do that. They definitely have secured, at least of right now, have secured that Pacific Division third playoff spot. Now that could change here in a you know, in the next, it's the beginning of the last third of the season, as I like to call it, before going into playoffs. So that could change. They could end up being in a wild card spot.
Yes.
But
playoffs start in March, right? Or is it April?
No.
They start in
late April.
Yeah, late April.
Late April.
Yeah, so they got some time.
I was thinking March because of the shortened season. I think.
Yeah. Well, there's a trade. The trade deadline's in March, right?
Oh, okay.
I think the trade deadline's either.
Well, it's like the first or second week.
Or the beginning of March, yeah.
Yeah. It's really right around that time. So there's a lot that happens around that time. So maybe you're thinking of that too. But I think Calgary's my biggest surprise with the amount of play that they've gotten.
That's definitely a good one, especially the way that they've been playing recently too.
Oh yeah. I like how their management has stuck to their system. Mm-hmm. They haven't just fired people because they've been losing. And they haven't traded away any major pieces. Like, they've kept a lot of the major pieces together, and they only got rid of minor pieces here and there, outside of maybe Elliott, who was awful. I don't even know where Elliott is anymore.
He's with Philadelphia.
Oh yeah, that's right. He got traded there. That's right.
Yeah, there was a big a diamond trade is what they called it between 4 teams.
Oh, I clearly did not pay attention to that.
It was between from Mike Smith, Elliott. Actually, not Mike Smith. I think it was just Elliott, Mason, and some other goalies.
Some other people.
Yeah.
I mean, that would make sense. But yeah, Calgary's would be mine. All right, let's move on to the Eastern Conference here. What has been your biggest surprise out of the Eastern Conference? Ryan, do you want to go again, or?
Yeah, I'll go. I think my biggest surprise, I think, is Toronto or Tampa Bay Lightning. Just the goal differential. For Tampa Bay Lightning, they're at plus 49 in goal differential. That's outstanding.
Yeah, that really is.
And they're clearly just outplaying every opponent that they face. I mean, to have only 10 losses, that speaks for itself.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing is with Tampa Bay. Well, Toronto has this too, but with Tampa Bay, you have an outstanding coach.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, I don't want to talk about Tampa Bay because we covered them pretty extensively. So, but that was my surprise to them.
Yeah.
To me.
No, I mean, it's fair to have them in your surprise list. Tampa Bay, I didn't think Cooper was as good of a coach as he has proven himself to be, I think, with this season. I thought he was a good coach, but this has proven him to be an outstanding coach, in my opinion, for how he's handled this team.
Definitely.
So, what about you, Jared?
Jared, how about you?
I'm gonna go with two different teams. First, I'm gonna say New Jersey. They've definitely been a pleasant surprise, especially with the moves that they made in it. I felt like they went through a big rebuild process. With gaining Taylor Hall and they had the first round draft pick.
Yeah, they had Nico Hischier. Yeah.
Yeah, so like you don't think a team that has the first round draft pick. I think they traded for it anyways, didn't they? I don't know if they
Yes. Yeah, I
exactly
think
earned
they
that
did. I can't remember who had it. I can't
because I don't
remember.
think they were a bottom team at all. But maybe they won the lottery. I don't know. I don't remember exactly. Anyways, also I know Tommy was high on Carolina, but I never was for the season at the beginning. But I think that they're sort of a surprise to me, for many different reasons. But the only problem that I see with them is it just does not seem like they finish games very well.
They're not
Their records,
consistent.
no, their record's 20-16-8, and those 8 overtime losses concern me to the point where it's like you guys need to finish some games. That'll help you get into a playoff spot if you're really serious about it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a level of sort of surprise with Carolina, but sort of not. I don't know,
Right.
like you look at Carolina and you say, well, they traded for a bunch of Blackhawks players, and Justin
Winnipeg.
Williams, yeah, and they kind of got what we expected, which is kind of like the third lines of the Blackhawks team,
The guys that they didn't want.
yeah, and they kind of got better from it. I don't know. It's interesting to watch them play. I agree. They don't finish out games. That's their issue.
Yeah. And we saw that last night too. I was talking to you about that earlier and how they lost with a second last. Like,
yeah,
that just shouldn't happen.
Yeah, it shouldn't. It definitely should not happen. I have a couple, and I don't know. The East is kind of hard to pick from, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I would agree.
The West is a little bit easier. But I'm gonna pick a couple here. So, my first surprise is Ottawa.
Okay, yeah.
Ottawa has played like crap.
Definitely.
And the pickup of Matt Duchene has not helped them.
I mean, I'm glad he's off my team. So
I mean, fair. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Duclair a little bit. Anyway, that being said, no, Ottawa I thought would be much better. Erik Karlsson I thought would be playing much better. I thought their team as a whole would be playing much better. They've been playing like absolute trash.
Yeah.
And there's no way around that. So because of that, they're my first surprise. I think my second surprise has actually been Pittsburgh. With how close they are to the playoff spot. In a wild
right now, they'd be in.
No, they'd be out. Carolina's
really?
holding. Yeah, Carolina's holding.
They get the wild card.
No, they're 1 point out. So Carolina.
No, they hold the spot currently.
Oh,
Yeah,
maybe my thing's not refreshed then.
It's because they beat Detroit today.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well then, I haven't refreshed it since then.
Yeah.
No, Pittsburgh has definitely been. They've been really riding that bubble anyway, going in and out, in and out and out. I really think that Pittsburgh is a surprise for me. With how many players they got rid of, with the fact that they're even pushing for a spot after two-peating is insane.
Right.
And with how poorly they played at the beginning of the season, I have to give Coach Sullivan a lot of credit. And I remember saying this at the beginning of the CSL podcast, and I'll say it here again. I think that Coach Sullivan is the best American coach or the best coach on an American team in the NHL.
So, I'm guessing you're saying Babcock's better.
Babcock's better on a Canadian on the current Canadian team. I kind of go back and forth. Sullivan's better at managing his players, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Babcock
You think Sullivan gets a shot at the Olympic team?
Oh yeah. Well,
he can't.
I don't think he can.
Yeah.
If he could, he would. But I don't know. Sullivan. Yeah, Sullivan is an outstanding coach. I give him tons of credit. I think Babcock would be on the Canadian team if he could.
Yeah,
and
most
he's not.
He always has been.
Babcock is the best Canadian coach. They just have different coaching styles, in my opinion. Sullivan's a more calm, more level-headed version of Daryl Sutter, in my opinion. He knows how to change lines. He knows how to manage a system, but he keeps a cool and level head. And he doesn't like flip tables over random stuff. Babcock kind of just plays his lines and he just pushes them to play better. He doesn't really manage them. He just kind of pushes them to play better. So they're different coaching styles on that, but I think Sullivan is probably the best in terms of how the NHL is coached today. You look at him and compare him to like Sullivan compared to like Quenneville, they coach pretty similarly, and they're both really outstanding coaches. I don't know. That's how I look at it.
This is kind of off topic, but when is the new player agreement, like the player negotiations to prevent a lockout next? Because I would think they would want to make a move for being allowing NHL players to play.
I think it's next year.
Next year?
I think. Don't quote me on that. It's coming up soon. I mean, there's been the thought of the lockout happening is a big deal because
okay.
I think McDavid was a big issue with that because McDavid basically just raised any mid-tier players' prices.
Right. Yep.
And that's a big concern that McDavid basically just said, no, I want this amount of money. And now every mid-tier player is going to be like, well, he's making that much, so I should make this much.
Yeah,
and so now there's going to be talk of McDavid just screwed everyone over. We'll see. I think the lockout, I kind of think the lockout will happen. After what happened with McDavid and Draisaitl, I kind of think it will happen.
Unfortunately, yes, because it's kind of been inevitable with everything that has happened previously in lockouts. And Gary Bettman.
See, this lockout shouldn't be that prevalent. They shouldn't happen. It's a disservice to the fans that support their teams and how much money they give and everything. It just shouldn't happen.
It's a lot of ownership problem.
Yeah, it's an ownership issue. It's not a player issue. It's an ownership issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It's an ownership issue, and because of that, it sucks. But there's a level of hopefully this won't happen, and maybe it won't. I'm not gonna discount that maybe it won't, but there's a good possibility that it will, which sucks. But yeah. Anyway. Yeah, those are my surprises. Is there anything you guys want to touch on before I close here?
I just want to touch on one thing really quick. You guys can add whatever you want, but it's more or less related not to the NHL, but on the spectrum of the Olympics. And I actually have their roster pulled up right now just because I was curious just to see like where these players are.
Because I haven't been able to find that yet.
Yes, it's on the official website.
Yeah, I think they recently posted it.
Hockey. Yeah, it has been. But so I just I was curious just to see where these players are coming from. There's multiple players from NCAA hockey. Obviously, overseas leagues and the AHL are pretty popular as well. But my biggest point out here is that James Wisniewski is on this roster.
I mean, oh.
Wow, no UND guys. I'm surprised.
I don't know what to say to that. On the one hand, he's NHL sort of caliber. On the other hand, it's James Wisniewski.
Yeah, In all reality, they just don't have a chance with this team. They don't have a chance to win.
But to be fair, I don't think this is the thing that sucks with the Olympics. A lot of teams don't have a chance.
Right.
The only team that actually does have a chance would probably be Russia. Yeah. Which sucks.
Yeah.
Russia
or Sweden.
Are KHL players allowed in?
Yes.
They're allowed in, but they're not allowed to be under the flag of Russia.
Right.
Which is weird and stupid, but whatever.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's because of that whole doping scandal.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That happened a couple Olympics ago, I think. And they're like, apparently the Olympic Committee said you're allowed, you can fly under another flag, come in under another flag, but you can't come under the flag of Russia.
Yeah.
I forget what the exact title of the flag they can come under is, but like
it's probably
what?
It's probably that flag that those athletes that can't really afford to go for their country.
Yeah, probably. But it was just one of those things. A lot of people were like, "Really? That's your punishment?"
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it's pretty stupid. But the main standout here, which I like, is Troy Terry. I don't know if you're familiar with him. But
I am.
He was phenomenal in the World Juniors last year.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure
it's a good opportunity for him.
If I remember correctly, is he a Ducks prospect?
I think you might be right, to be honest. I forgot who he got drafted to. Maybe Colorado.
Yeah, he got drafted. I know he got drafted.
Yeah, it's
somewhere.
The
It
Ducks.
is the Ducks.
Fifth
Okay.
round, 148th overall.
Yeah.
That seems a little high.
He's a good player. He's got good size. He's got good speed. He could definitely score.
Yeah, he's got a lot of skill.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to watch him. I don't know when he'll end up joining the Ducks.
He's still in college, so.
Oh, so he has to graduate. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, you guys want to make a Stanley Cup prediction while you're here?
Why not?
All right.
Yeah, sure.
All right. So,
I think
if I remember correctly, Jared, you said, I'm trying to remember what you said last time. You said Tampa Bay, and then I'm trying to remember what your team out west was in the final, and then you picked Tampa Bay to win it.
I think I said Tampa Bay and St. Louis.
Okay. Yeah, it was either St. Louis or LA in my head. So, yeah, I think that's what you said. I don't think I heard what your Stanley Cup prediction has been at all.
I don't think I've made one with you.
Yeah, so this will be a good opportunity for you. And for those of you listening, my Stanley Cup prediction at the beginning of December when we did our last podcast was I did Anaheim and I said Tampa Bay and I said Anaheim winning the Stanley Cup. So that's just to give you guys a reference of where we all stood before at the beginning of December. So yeah. Ryan, do you want to start or do you want to go last?
I'll start, I guess. I think
Okay.
It's gonna be the LA Kings from the West and Tampa Bay from the East, and I think it's gonna be Tampa Bay in 6.
All right. So you think Tampa Bay is going to win the cup? Okay.
Yes.
I like the LA prediction. I think is a common prediction.
Yeah.
And I actually kind of like that. It's a fair one. That's a good prediction. I have no qualms with that.
Who did you pick from the East? I cut out.
Tampa Bay.
Heard LA.
Oh, he had picked
Okay.
Tampa Bay, yeah, and he picked Tampa
Okay,
Bay
fair
in 6.
Fair enough.
What about you, Jared?
Okay, so my Eastern Conference prediction is kind of a toss-up at this point. I'm just like, I don't know. I feel like I have such a strong bias for Columbus just because I really like their play style, but I don't think that they'll beat out Tampa Bay. That's my only concern there. So I'm still sticking with Tampa Bay in the East, and then in the West, I'm still sticking with St. Louis. I just feel strongly for that team.
All right.
I know they haven't had a lot of playoff success recently, but I think this could be a year to turn that around.
Well, Mike Yeo definitely has a completely different team under his belt compared to when he had Minnesota. So it's a fair thing to say.
But yeah, Tampa Bay winning, I'd say 6 games.
All right, fair. So you pick Tampa Bay to win the cup as well. All right. I don't know. I always go back and forth between teams. I'm still sticking to my prediction of Anaheim going to the final. And no, I'm not being. Okay, there's a little bias there, but I'm being.
Are they even making the playoffs?
Right now, they're not in the playoffs. But here's what I think will happen: they'll get healthy, and they'll get into a wild card spot. And depending on the wild card spot, they'll push all the way through. Because the last couple of years, they kind of have been in a Pacific Division title. And I think that's hurt them. So I think they'll come into a wild card spot. That's kind of where I put them at. But I think they'll go all the way. So Pacific, they'll go all the way to the final. And I don't know, out east, I can see Tampa Bay doing it. But there's also a level of I could see them choking. I don't know why I can see them choking.
I mean, I get where you're coming from. I don't know if I see it exactly though.
They're not like a Washington Capitals choke. I don't think it's that obvious. Right. My problem is compared to the other teams, they have the best shot. So I'm gonna go with I'll stick with the Tampa Bay prediction.
Okay.
I'll stick with the Tampa Bay prediction. Tampa Bay versus Anaheim. It pains me to say this, but I think it would go to a Game 7.
Okay.
And I think that Tampa Bay could pull it out. I think in a Game 7, Tampa Bay could pull it out.
So it's pretty much that's our conclusive.
Yeah, answer. I think they could pull it out. There's a part of me that thinks Anaheim could, but I'm not sure on that.
I don't know. It's just like the West is so tight, and I guess the East sort of is in a sense, but just the East you just don't see as strong a teams. So
my thing with Anaheim is this is where Anaheim's unpredictability comes in. Anaheim's goaltending is a little unpredictable at the current moment. I guess Tampa Bay has a little bit of unpredictability as well. Anaheim, I guess with Anaheim, the nice thing is you watch some of the bigger teams. Anaheim plays a checking game, which really slows down a lot of fast teams, and their defense.
And some teams don't like that.
Yeah, and actually, I've kind of noticed this with Chicago. If you're doing heavy body checking on them, they play a lot worse. And it's the same.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
And I think Tampa Bay falls into that category. The question is, can you body check them? And I think Anaheim's good at that. So the question remains, would they be able to slow down Tampa Bay to that point? I think they would. The question is, would goaltending, and goaltending's a little bit of an issue, I think, with Anaheim still.
Definitely.
Yep. And also goal scoring from their leadership. Getzlaf struggles to score going into late rounds, in my opinion, and so does Perry. And Stamkos also kind of did going into the final that one year, but he was also injured for a lot of the season, so that's it's kind of a little bit of a toss-up. But Kucherov is outstanding still, and I don't know.
And he kind of has proven that throughout the playoffs as well. He's been outstanding in the playoffs scoring.
Yeah. I don't know. I go back and forth. Like I still think it would go to a Game 7. I 100% go to that point, but I go back and forth. I'm like, Tampa Bay, no Anaheim. No Tampa Bay, no Anaheim. But
and predictions only mean so much.
Yeah, that's a fair thing to say. I'll stick with the Tampa Bay prediction still, but I think it would be a lot of overtimes, and I think it would be a lot of good games coming out of that.
Oh, definitely. I think the playoffs this year will be very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
I'm really excited to see Tampa Bay and how they do. I really think they'll light it up.
Yeah, that'll be interesting, and quite honestly, if they get knocked out first round, it wouldn't surprise me.
Do they have a special package for the NHL playoffs, or do you just have to buy the?
It gets reduced in price because of how many games are actually left. My
Okay.
my issue is blackout restrictions apply.
Yeah.
That's my only thing that why I don't buy
Oh, they
it.
do.
Yeah, so
So
if
you're
you
better off just going off Reddit streams, aren't you?
I don't even do that. I know Jared does.
I do.
I
It's the only way
don't.
I can watch the Avs.
Well,
I mean,
in the playoffs, it's less of like a package deal. It just depends if you have NBCSN. If you have NBC, obviously everyone has NBC,
Yeah.
but and then I think they started to use the USA Network, if I'm not mistaken.
yes, it was USA that they used.
Yeah, so it's basically like there's no like direct TV package or whatever
Yeah.
that you need to get for it.
Yeah, I really don't. I don't know. I kind of just stick to the normal TV with that, and I just
Yeah,
flip
NBC
back and forth.
holds a lot of the load, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you have the ability to even to stream NBCSN, that's what I've done that. Yeah,
I
that's
have NBCSN, so I'm good there. I just want to know if there's a package or something.
yeah. There's not really anything that I do for the playoffs. In regular season, quite honestly, like I know a lot of people are like, I want to watch my team, but there's only a certain number of games that I'm actually like, I'm dying to watch that. You know, like I'll watch it.
It is nice to have the NHL Network, though. That is one thing that I do recommend.
Yeah,
which I have, so that's good.
I've thought about getting if I end up going to a different streaming service or like a TV streaming service, or maybe go to a different TV package when I end up moving out of state or whatever, then I may end up trying to get like NHL Network and whatnot in that package and whatnot. Right. But anyway, well, I'll wait till Ryan gets back. But for those of you listening,
sorry, I had to deal with my dog.
Oh, you're all good. Yeah, for those of you listening, I hope you guys enjoyed. I know this one was a little bit longer than what you probably listened to, but I wanted to give these guys some time to kind of explain their opinions and talk about some things in depth. Definitely follow them on the Cardinal Sports Live podcasts, if possible. Definitely do that. They have some good insights on those as well.
Running the NHL one this semester?
He will not be running it. No, he will be. He's just directing. Yeah, he'll just be directing and whatnot. But yeah, so definitely follow these guys. They're definitely worth following. Do you guys have any social media that you want to throw out for them to follow and whatnot?
I just follow CSL because they'll post the Premier League podcast to their Twitter and stuff. So find us on SoundCloud and stuff like that.
Yeah, Ryan was the host of the Premier League podcast, and Jared was a part of my NHL podcast, and he also were a part of the NBA one, correct?
I did one with the NFL.
NFL, that's right. I knew it was one of those two. So yeah, he's done some work with them. Definitely give them a follow. Like I said, thank you both of you for hopping on. I know it's a little bit longer of a podcast than probably what you're used to.
So good.
But I want to give you guys some insight, or give you guys the opportunity to give your insights on what you've seen so far, and I wanted to give you guys a little bit more of a free podcast feel compared to what you guys are. Guys are a little bit more structured over at Cardinal Sports Live. Right. So I wanted to give you guys the opportunity to kind of do that. So I hope the listeners enjoyed. If there's anything you want to leave a comment down below, and say like, hey, I don't agree with this, or I do agree with this, feel free to do so. Obviously be constructive with it, but yeah, we're all always down to hear, or I'm always down to hear since I'm the one running this. Obviously subscribe, leave a like. I would greatly enjoy it. That being said, thank you for listening. I will be doing another podcast next weekend, so feel free to tune into that. If I can get these live streams going for it, I will definitely do that as well, so I hope I can do that. But yeah, that being said, Thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you guys later. All right, bye.